Welcome to Bourbon with Brad.
The views and opinions shared on the Bourbon with Brad podcast are our own and those of our guests. Nothing we discuss should be taken as financial, legal, business, or gambling advice. Don't make investment, business, or betting decisions based on our conversations, as you should always talk to a qualified professional. Always drink responsibly, never drink and drive, and only consume alcohol if you are of legal drinking age.
And we are back.
Oh, no, we're back.
Yes, we are back.
Just in the nick of time.
And of course, there's a reason why we are an explicit podcast, because we are explicitly great at AI.
That's what they say.
And we drop a few bad words here and there. We do have
Just
a dark,
here and there, though.
yeah, the dark humor, the completely offensively LLC says it all. It's in the name, kind of like the open AI. So I gotta live up to it every once in a while, you know.
It is. I mean, we had a lot of fun with the completely offensively with the memes.
Oh, the
Remember
funny
that?
memes. That's a whole nother show
During
conversation, right?
COVID, I think.
Yeah,
Oh, that
right.
was so much fun.
So much fun, right? And Perry, you were a big help. You helped me design the logo.
Brett, this completely offensively, I've heard of this. I'm not that familiar. Tell me exactly what your completely offensively position is, other than on the golf course.
Pretty much all the time.
Self-explanatory.
It's a 24/7 job, you know, Lou. You know me well enough to know that I'm always throwing some dark humor into it, especially
it is a little bit
especially if you're a friend, you know. Then you're going to be
better.
Then it's a kind gesture. Let's put it that way.
Let's put it this way. I'd be more concerned if Brad stopped talking to me and stopped making fun of me.
Yeah, that's probably
I'd
true.
be way more concerned then.
Right. So, but completely offensively is one of your social media.
It is, and it's also the parent company of Bourbon with Brad.
Awesome, interesting.
It's like the holding company.
It is
for all the enterprises.
Well, for a lot of them, yeah. So funnymemes.com, which, you know, if you're a meme person, I'm one of the, I hate to say it now, the gray hairs are showing. I'm a grandfather of the meme world.
Man, you're gray. I'm just I'm trying to be Santa Claus. I had people have Santa Claus in July and ask me to participate.
Yeah.
We just talked about the guy that invented the word meme.
Right. Yeah, in the way we did with
he's an atheist.
Yeah, an 85-year-old atheist.
Is that right?
Yeah, that
Louis probably didn't hear that.
Yeah, and you know how you just talked about Claude with Nick. He was saying that he was talking to Claude for 72 hours straight, and he's dead certain. He came out this week and said he's dead certain that Claude has definitely got a consciousness.
Wow, that's
so obviously that opened up the floor for a lot of debate.
It does. And that flashes actually back to what you and Eric talked about a couple of weeks ago, and you and Jay elaborated on it a little bit, and you guys got really deep with the consciousness of AI. And
that's segment 4 to segment 5 content.
That is definitely segment 4 or 5 when you get lost in that twilight zone of, is it really twilight zone or is this actually reality, right? So
when everybody's hitting maximum lubricity.
Yeah, they are, and we just are taking our first sips. But I will say this, you know, the real telltale is when you have the Elon saying it on the stand, and the judge had to say, look, we're not talking about what AI can do and the bad stuff to us, right? And where it's going. We're also not talking about, you know, but you got coming out of his mouth, and obviously he's one of the brightest, you know, thinkers out there. Then you have, you know, this guy, this 85-year-old guy is not just an atheist. He's a well-published author. He's got 2 great books. I wouldn't say they're great because it's one of them's against God. I mean, but I mean they were great in the sense that they were they did very well for him. You know, because obviously there is a contingency out there that, you know, and not everybody, you know, has found God yet. But so anyways, you know, with these people coming out and then Google hiring an in-house philosopher from Cambridge and Anthropic bringing in 15 of the top Christian leaders to train their models, they and all on the idea of, deep down, are we hiding it because of what's going on in the headlines today as to this subconsciousness that may be behind the scenes, you know? So
wait, you just said that somebody hired 15 philosophers?
No, they hired, Google hired the in-house philosopher. So it's actually a full-time job that they offered to one of the top philosophers from Cambridge.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, top of his, you know, he's a very well-respected, and now that is his title, in-house philosopher.
Geez, he's like us.
Right? I mean, talk about the
That's what
perfect
we
job,
are.
right?
Right. A little bit different house, but in this house, we're the philosophers.
Yeah, right out of here from the basement and Bourbon basement in Indiana, PA.
Without a doubt.
But you know, the 15 Christian leaders were brought in by Anthropic to train their models to, you know, be more emotionally intelligent as far as interacting with those that are grieving, interacting with those that are thinking about self-harm, and also, you know, thinking about how can we better train our model to be more just a better model.
Sure.
So
that makes sense. Were the 15 across different religions or
they were
was it just one? It wasn't all Catholics.
No,
or all
no.
Muslims or all Jews or anything like that.
This was a well diversified, respected
Sure.
2-day camp that they did, and well done. You know, kudos to them to bring in these different perspectives. You know, because sometimes you get boxed in, and if the only people that are training your models are the engineers, there's nothing against engineers, but you're getting one perspective, right?
Yeah, I mean, they live in a much more binary world. An engineer has to, by definition, has to live in a binary world.
Right.
It's either going to stand or it's going to fail.
That's right.
The theologians and the philosophers have a let's call it a more rounded, softer edge world where they a lot of things are much more open to interpretation than some of the engineers.
Yeah, and I love where we went with Eric the other week, and we were talking about, you know, math is God's mind, and you know that's such a leap from faith. You know, and that really just kind of resonates and just lays on you heavily, even in the first segment.
It gets deep.
It does, you know. But you know, it's if you haven't seen that episode with Eric or seen the clip where he talks about it, that Barry puts so well together. It's worth the 45 seconds or a minute, you know, watch. It was
hard to keep it that short.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. He's a brilliant mind.
No, he is, you know, a Carnegie Mellon grad. I mean, not that he needs the accolades of the schools. All you have to do is just talk to Eric for about 2 minutes and you realize you're in the presence of a genius, you know?
Sure. I feel like that when I'm around all of you guys.
No, thank you. That's just the bourbon though talking.
And what kind of bourbon are we having tonight, Brad?
Yeah, what did we bring, Lou?
He's going to make you say.
Yeah.
Going to make me say.
Guess who brought this bourbon tonight?
This bourbon it's called Chicken Cock. And I went into the liquor store the other day.
It just
and
begs for life.
I honestly had no idea what to, I went through the Penelope
Exactly.
aisle.
What did you ask for, Lou?
I didn't really ask for anything.
Yeah, was
and-
there a specific question that got you to this one? Or
What was the
it
key
just
word?
No, honestly.
Was it the bottle? Was it the...
Honestly, it was the fact that I know you guys, and I know sometimes you have a tendency to go a little bit sideways with,
you think?
with some of the humor, and I thought,
Completely,
okay,
offensively.
this totally, completely offensively, if you will. Yes, this brand lends itself to a bit of off-color, perhaps discussion about a bourbon and whatnot. But
Definitely does.
No.
You know, the irony too is that, you know, when you said you were going to bring this and you had a bottle to bring, Perry this morning when we were doing the headlines said, I got a bottle and I got a chicken cock. And I said, well, do you have a bottle of bourbon? He goes, no, I got a chicken cock bottle. You know, so I said, you know, I said, you know, can you, he goes, but we're definitely got to do that. And then you texted and I said, boy,
Sure.
we are synced up.
We are.
I mean, of all the bourbons out there that we could be talking about on one given day, right?
and we land on the same
The
base.
same exact
sure.
dot,
It's
right?
good to see that we're thinking alike. If
Yeah.
I'm thinking like any of you guys, I'm like thrilled.
Yeah.
That's a
I
a
have
real
tried
compliment
this
to me.
before.
Yeah, we did.
I'm not totally new to this one, but I have tried it, and I've never really gotten deep into it.
I tried a little chicken cock at our bourbon tasting, and it was
So said the hen.
it was
Actually, you know, it's
it
funny.
was pretty good.
We were talking about the blends and the different blends you could do, and you did chicken cock and blackened, and we'll let that go. But I'm looking over your shoulder. I'm looking over your shoulder.
The
Brad.
Metallica bourbon.
I'm looking over your shoulder, Brad, and I see Angel's Envy, and I'm thinking Angel's cock.
Well, there you go. Right.
I mean,
You know, it's an
that could be a
interesting
good blend.
story, and we laugh about it, but you know, actually, chicken cock is one of the oldest, most
It's
historic.
legit. It's legit.
Yeah, it really is, and it wasn't a funny name back when the farmers were using it. It was what they called the roosters that were running around. So
Sure.
and it was just kind of matter of fact, and it was just a term of, again, kind of like Mitch of endearment, right? So for these little guys, and
I prefer you call me Mitch.
Yeah, me too.
But we haven't even cracked into it yet, so that'll be.
No, we are enjoying still the SB House, so
yeah
that was our introduction, and kudos to Greg for bringing that. Thank you so much.
We'll have to do.
Speaking of SB, I tried his the red label last week.
Oh, I know,
and
Todd. Well done,
man. No doubt, Todd. I can't wait to meet you because the red label I think is a little bit more.
We're gonna have him.
Rye.
We're gonna have him on, and like we're in talks of hopefully developing and coordinating a bourbon together, which would be awesome, right?
Yeah, that's another thing we have on.
Yeah, Jay kind of sparked that plug for us, didn't he?
Did.
Yeah, we got a lot of things on.
And
we're going to need a bigger stove.
No, we are, and we're collaborating with friends, and we got a great friend in the studio audience tonight, Brian Martin. He helped design the bottle. The bottle's sexy. It is sexy. That's all I got to say.
He's one of the OG Mitches.
He is an OG Mitch.
OG Mitches, and the guy can run a dozer.
Oh man, he can pick a gnat off a
No.
See, now you're gonna shame. He's not gonna come on because he's embarrassed.
Now I'm throwing Cedric Tiger-isms out. It's got to be the chicken cock. All right. Anyways, I think what's really fascinating.
We're already sidetracked. We're 10 minutes into the first segment.
Yeah, we haven't even finished our first bourbon yet. So
it's been a long Thursday.
It has been a long Thursday. We've been airing. We've been working hard. We've been getting ready for this great episode. We're going to be talking about all the different platforms here when we get into segment 2. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this great bourbon. And Bardstown now, Bourbon Company, a very famous one, is taking it over. It actually was distilled. The rumors are it was distilled kind of like off the market going back to 1830.
Is that right?
So you talk about some heritage, that's even longer than the 1871 that the SB House had, going on. So this has been a long standing, and it was around all the way till after World War II. And then it kind of went out of production. So back in 2011, there was a gentleman out there, I should probably know his name, but I don't have it right in front of me, that rekindled it and brought it back. And now it is being produced by one of the most respectable companies in the bourbon world, and that's Bardstown. One of the famous towns in Kentucky. Oh, yeah. So they make this now, and of course they're not going to change the name. It's kind of like when my dog came and I bought him and his name was already Greg. I'm like, I'm not changing that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't change. Greg, yeah, that was his comment. So I'm seeing James Miller began distilling as early as he was the original.
Yeah. Crazy, right? But it is. I can't wait to open it up in the second segment and taste it because it almost has like this candy. Yeah, and I know Brian's laughing back there because he's thinking, Brad can't wait to taste the chicken cock. But Louis brought the cock today when Perry wanted to bring the cock. And I'm just going to sit here and taste it, all right? So, and we're going to be arguing over who's going to finish the cock off. So, that's
after you say the word cock 20 times.
Yeah. Notice I'm not stumbling across that one. That one rolls off the tongue. Unlike the
rolls off the tongue.
You said it. Unlike the bourbon burnometer, right?
Yeah, you can say cock way better than you say bourbon manometer.
There's something circular about tonight's version of the show and our telehealth site, which is myedmeds.com for erectile dysfunction.
That's right.
Where together we
rise. Yeah.
But no, one of the things I've come to find with these bourbons as I'm trying to mature into this world, is the unique bottles.
As we laugh about the name.
Yeah,
and as I'm looking at the back of this, I'm wondering if it's meant to appear as like a chicken that has been plucked, perhaps, because it kind of looks like maybe
the hairs are missing.
The hairs,
like they were just freshly shaved.
Freshly shaved or plucked, whatever you want to call it. But it is a unique bottle, and I do look forward to sharing it with you guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. I can't. Well, and again, when I had it at the Bourbon Club, I was already kind of two bourbons deep, so I don't remember tasting it kind of on its own. And I'm really looking forward to enjoying a chicken cock with the three of you guys.
Hey, they do have a version called Chicken Cock Old Glory.
Oh. Hey, if you're into the older stuff.
We all said that.
Hey, as a senior officer on deck, that's me, Old Glory.
Old Glory.
You and Old Glory need to get together.
There you go. Old Glory needs to go to myedmeds.com.
Anyways, it's going to be awesome. So anything exciting happened to you this week, Louis?
Oh, wow. What happened this week? I can't say that it did. I tried to play at an opening day golf event, and there was actually hail on 3 of the greens that we tried to play on.
Yeah, I think there was a picture where it was almost a white covering of the
it
greens.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's the kind of weather I like to play in, you know?
It was a little bit, I pledged that I would never do that once I hit age 65, but it was the only opportunity to do something, and it was actually an outing before our Kentucky Derby party.
Our infamous, I think it's not even infamous, it's famous Kentucky Derby party that we throw at the Indiana Country Club, and in large part due to you bringing in the great Derby polls that we do, and it's just the blind draw. There is no luck. Well, I guess it is all luck. I said there's no skill, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You know, you're not trying to have to figure out the horses, which I like. You know, you just show up and you say, Louis, I'm in.
Sure. And it was a great race, too.
Oh, it was.
23-1 out of nowhere.
Right, and how they came from behind?
No doubt. I actually heard that horse, though, is not running next week in the Preakness.
Why? Do you know?
There's various reasons. There's theory that this horse needs a longer race, so because it's a come from behind horse.
Well, you can see it. I mean, it really came, and when it was coming around that bend, it was coming on strong. When everybody else was starting to fade, it was
right.
But also the Renegade second horse was coming on strong.
And I don't think Renegade's racing in this in the Preakness either.
Shorter track, is it?
It's a shorter race, yeah. And then I think there's issues within the thoroughbred industry about only having 2 weeks between the Derby and the Preakness, and then 3 weeks between the Belmont, and perhaps spreading those out a little bit on the in terms of the horse and caring for the horse. Although I think these horses are probably treated a lot better than a lot of humans on our planet, but nonetheless. These horses aren't. I think there's only 2 or 3 from the Derby. They're going to be competing this coming next week into the Preakness. So that was neat.
It definitely throws it up in the air as far as who the favorite is at this point.
Sure. I don't know who the favorite would be, but so that was what happened. And hey, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you my nephew, Matt.
No, let me shut him out. I mean, because when you sent that, Matt, one of the best golfers to ever come out of Indiana County, has been at the game for a while. He's been on the mini tour and tour, events, just on the cusp of making it, and he qualified into the final round of the U.S. Open qualifier, right?
He did, yes.
Yeah, that's a big. Had a great round too, right?
Doubt. Shot
was he
4 under?
Yeah,
shot 4 under at Lake Nona Country Club down in Orlando.
Not an easy course.
No, not an easy course. I think it's got to be the hardest way in life to try and make a living is on the pro tour. This event, the U.S. Open, I think there's generally about 11,000 qualifiers at the local level, which is what this was. And they go from 11,000 down to about 700 or 800 at this final round. And out of those 700 or 800, they'll take about 40, I believe.
Which is amazing, right?
So,
I mean, if you think about where he's already at, even to get to where he's at, it is one of the coolest events in golf, I think, because you don't have to be a pro. Well, Matt is a pro, but you can be an amateur. Anybody, you and I, well, I guess you have to have a handicap index before you can go qualify. I mean, if you do have that index, anybody could show up.
Sure. So, so he's excited about it. He's not sure where he's going to get to go to the next round. There's, I believe, 8 locations. One of them is actually in England, and one is in Japan. So they're trying to make it open to the world. So if you're really one of the best in the world, you have a shot at this. So he's been grinding at it for years.
Well, as soon as you know, let us know, and we'll let our listeners know too, so they can follow along. I mean, it's good stuff,
Yeah.
Tell Matt, congratulations.
I will pass that on to him, man. And interestingly, Matt played at Rutgers University, and Rutgers had a strong finish this past week in the Big Ten championships out in Pumpkin Ridge, Oregon. They finished 4th in the Big Ten this year. So. A lot of good things happening, at least close to me, in the golf world.
That is awesome. That's a lot of good things. And Matt was a teammate of Gotterup too. We talked about him on the podcast before. So
Chris Gotterup,
there's a close connection there, and I'm sure Matt and him are texting as he's getting closer to maybe being on that big stage up in Shinnecock. You know,
That
how
would
cool
be
would that
pretty.
be?
That would be.
And don't get Shinnecock confused with a
Chicken cock.
Did I say horsecock? Is that a bourbon?
Oh. Hey, so
I had a feeling as soon as we started talking about
I talked
the
about
US
the
Open,
Derby, right?
tidbit of information before we go to a break. So I found that it says the founder of Grain and Barrel Spirits, Maddie Antilla, Antilla, rediscovered the Chicken Cock whiskey brand while visiting the Oscar Getz Museum in Bardstown, Kentucky,
Yeah, really cool, right?
with the idea of reviving historic brand from the ashes. So he's the one that brought it
That's the guy.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Yep.
And kudos to him. We're going to cheers him tonight. You know, and there's one more big sports headline I want to mention, and that is your son, Per, hit 200.
200 career points.
200 career points, an Indiana high school record on his senior night, his very last game in the Indiana field before he goes off to the great school of Seton Hill University.
Yeah, he did.
Congratulations.
Never miss. What sport?
Lacrosse.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Yep. That was a new school record. I think he broke the record a while ago. And then he hit 100 goals last year. Max Camposano hit 100 goals this year. They both did it in their junior year.
Both studs when it comes to the lacrosse world.
Yep.
Just good kids too.
Yeah, very good. So,
Awesome
he's
stuff.
headed to Seton Hill to play for a very strong D2 team there.
Yeah.
Great.
Not too far away.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff, brother.
Thanks. Congrats, Garrett.
Yeah, congrats, Garrett, Nikki, everybody. You know, that's awesome. You know,
Sure.
Yeah, so when we come back, we are gonna, dive into that bottle of chicken cock, and then we're gonna, talk about the different platforms while we're enjoying a little cock.
I think
I look
Brian's
forward to
losing.
the education.
Brian's losing his shit back there. It's hilarious.
We'll be right back.
Cheers.
Mike, NIL is getting expensive. Schools need new revenue.
Yeah, but not another alumni fundraiser. I've got enough tote bags.
What if your ED meds saved you 10% and donated 10% to JMU?
Wait, what? How?
AlumniMeds.com. You get U.S. licensed healthcare, and the school gets a cut. Win, win, win.
Now that's a stat I can get behind. Go Dukes.
Already low prices, fast turnaround, totally discreet. Visit AlumniMeds.com and choose your alma mater to...
We're back. We were just talking about how well we talk about cock, and it's not that it just flows off the tongue. Like I said, it's just I don't know. It just everything comes out of your mouth that way.
There's just no way we're going to get through
No, we're
this
not gonna get
without
through it.
laughing about it. And
I
it's
know.
not even funny because
And we're
it's
trying to do a
really
serious
good
segment
bourbon.
tonight and talk about all the different AI platforms. And I'm sorry to all the listeners out there that have to put up with this shit. This is fifth segment stuff in the first segment, So
It is. I mean, it's legit a very, very good bourbon. It's not a very cheap bourbon either.
No, it's a well-respected bourbon.
Very
It's got a
good.
little sweetness to it. They said a little red licorice, a little candy shop type.
I got that. I
Yeah.
got a hint. To me, I tasted some corn in there.
Yeah, well, it's definitely corn. I mean, it's 70% corn, so it's
Yeah,
it's old school.
I pick up some almost more of that grain bill than I do the oak or the taste from the
Sure.
wood. It's very good.
Yeah, and
Super smooth.
Moderately priced too. I've having met you guys, I've run across some bourbons that I have to first go to the bank and before I go to get them. But this is very moderately priced, and I'm really good with this one on a cost benefit analysis.
Cost, benefit,
I think this is
and
really,
name. The bottle's ribbed.
yeah, everything.
It's it's you get a little extra pleasure that way,
Well, apparently, if you do
It's
something
very
with the bottle,
pleasurable.
you do.
It's very pleasurable. I'll say that.
It is, but
it feels wonderful in my mouth.
You caught me mid. You caught me mid swallow.
we went from segment 2 to segment 3 to segment 9.
So Perry, I do have to read what the pundits say about the palate, because I think whoever wrote this has got a little bit of a wit to them. They said it's smooth, approachable, slightly bigger and more complex than expected, which
I'm just not even going.
Yeah, right.
I'm not even going to comment.
You almost had to use that word, that adjective when
Yeah.
you're talking about this, but
yeah.
no, I'm
I mean,
pleasantly
in all
surprised.
seriousness, it is very good.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different taste than we were having some of the Espy House that we reviewed last week or 2 weeks ago. Last week.
That was last week. Yeah.
And it's very good too. This has definitely got a different flavor. Very good, very smooth. Mm-hmm. It's just waiting to hit me with the joke here. Go ahead.
Well, much like you, Perry, this
How about
much like you, Perry, this bottle comes in two different forms. I mean, I really think it should be called Rooster Cock, but you know, it's also a cross-dresser, buddy. I'm just saying. You got the chicken cock, aren't they females?
I was going to try to be the adult in the room and pull it back to center here.
Oh, come on, Lou.
Talk about AI and Claude and
I know we're going to get into that, you
whatever. No,
We're having
the
way
crux
too
of what
much
you
fun
do-
with the chicken cock.
Yeah.
too.
We could do a whole show on chicken cock. Like I said,
we have so far.
we pretty much have. The segments are speaking for themselves, and obviously we got right into it.
Sure.
And this is why we removed, if the listeners out there don't know yet, because we kind of soft rolled it out this week. But we removed the headlines from the first segment and put them in the morning over coffee, our Death Wish coffee.
Every
It's
morning.
very good.
Yeah.
Every morning, and it gets us pumped and it gets us
We need to start
going.
linking. We got to start flagging Death Wish coffee on our.
No, I think we
posts.
should. I mean, it's and listen, this is an unsolicited. I get nothing out of it other than a good jolt in the morning, and
That's right.
and we're enjoying it in our MyED meds cups. Thank you,
your
Lou.
mugs.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you very much,
Yeah.
Lou, for that. But the headlines keep rolling, don't they, Per? I mean,
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we thought we were going to be filming 5-10 minutes, and it's been every day this week.
It begs for more time than we could possibly give it.
Yeah, and I'm having to tell AI when I'm searching out the headlines, give me the biggest ones, just like the chicken cock.
Ba-dum-bum.
Give me the biggest ones, because I'm only showing up with the biggest headlines, right?
Well, yes, you do, and with all of this discussion, I'm feeling there's some type of synergistic relationship here with this brand and our erectile dysfunction brand. And,
I mean, it seems like a natural. It seems like a perfect marriage.
A natural fit.
It really does seem like a perfect marriage. You know,
Sure.
are you suffering from chicken cock? Yeah.
Is your cock chicken?
You can go with all the. You can go with all the different plays,
I
right?
hate to shamelessly plug, but it just. It flows. Everything just goes together here, which
No, that's kind of the point, right?
Which is I guess is the point. It's just never going to end, is it?
No, it really
It's
isn't.
just going to keep going. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, I mean, it's the same thing with the my ED meds. I mean, it's just one wisecrack, one joke after another.
Sure,
And the
sure.
truth of the matter is, it's like, well, I mean, it's not a laughing matter, but I think if you can laugh about it, probably makes it a little bit easier.
Sure.
I'm usually like, hey, you seen this as funny as I am? I mean, it's nothing but dead wood here, you know?
I mean, isn't chicken cock technically redundant?
Well, that's what I was kind of getting into, right?
I mean, it's a chicken. A cock is a chicken.
No. So now that's where well, yeah, possibly. But I'm thinking more like, isn't it rooster?
Well, but aren't they all chickens? Hens, roosters are all chickens, right? Isn't
Brian,
that
we do have.
Roosters and
Come on,
hens are
Brian.
both
We do
chickens.
have the expert in the house. I mean, we do have Farmer Jim's son-in-law here, and he has more chicken cock running around than anybody in the Indiana County.
Brian, is chicken a more general term for hens and roosters? No? You want to elaborate?
Yeah,
Right, but aren't they all chickens? Yes. Well, that's what I asked. You said no. So they're all chickens.
well, that
So
makes
to
sense.
call and then a common word for a male chicken or a rooster is a cock. Cockfighting, blah blah blah. We've all heard it. We all snicker and we laugh.
I guess.
But
if
why-
to be-
but
I
why
guess if we're gonna
chicken
get
cock?
real technical, we could say it's a hen cock, and then that would be a transgender cock.
Wow.
I can't, not even touching that. It's
Well, no,
90
I was trying to make the parallel to you, and I think I was wrong. I mean, obviously I was wrong.
Clearly.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. So let me have this moment, okay?
No, I've been wrong. I had to admit this week I was wrong on the crypto coins and the tokens. It's a difference. It's like two different words mean the same thing, and the tokens are little packets of information. They're not the crypto that we're thinking about flowing behind the AI world. So
my advice is we continue drinking the cock and stop talking about the cock.
that sounds good.
I'm on board with you, Perry. I think.
I mean, it is funny. It is very good. It's 90 proof, by the way.
No, that's very approachable.
It's very easy to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is good.
We're done talking about it. Now just put it in your mouth and roll it around, boys. All right.
So anyway.
Yeah, let's get into what we're here for.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we're here.
You tell the story of how we got to this point.
No, and Perry, I think you had asked maybe several episodes ago, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and what was the question?
The question was, you talk about all these different platforms, mostly Anthropic, Claude, and OpenAI's ChatGPT, and Grok, I think, the
Copilot.
Copilot. Yep. Excuse me, from Microsoft. Those are the four big ones, but there's others. And
Perry had a little cock in his mouth.
It was a frog in my throat, not a cock in my throat. But anyway, so I had asked the question because you were talking about using Claude to do coding for this application you're writing.
Yeah.
And I said, why? So what makes Claude better at coding than, say, OpenAI? And you said, well, these different platforms have certain things that they're better at than others, and some things they share and some things they're more specialized in. So I said, well, that's probably a good topic for an entire show.
Oh, it's such
a huge, relevant topic today. And my wife just this morning asked me about
what bourbon you're trying tonight.
Well, no. She wanted to know all about that.
Yeah.
No, she asked me if I could help her bookmark. She's kind of technologically backward. She's not super savvy. Asked me how she could bookmark ChatGPT because she uses it in her job to put together letters and emails explaining to people why they're not getting this or not getting that. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but she uses it all the time. So I just showed her how to bookmark it and use it, and she thought that was great. Like, to her, that's like a technological advance.
You've come so far.
Yeah. So anyway, I haven't had a chance to talk to her after talking to you about getting the app and all that. But anyway, so that was the gist of the whole thing.
Just for those out there, if you're using it off they all offer it off the web browser too, but the app is a little more stable.
I would think more responsive, probably.
It is. So you're gonna get the best performance out of it from the app, and a lot of people are reluctant to get the app because they just assume that if you get the app, you're gonna have to pay, right? So, and that's what we're gonna get into today with all these different platforms, and we're going to discuss 6 different ones today. So we're going to, we're not just going to focus on Claude. We're not just going to focus on ChatGPT. We're going to talk about the strengths. We're going to talk about the weaknesses. We're going to talk about the cost structure that they have and what you get for that. A lot of them offer this free kind of teaser. It's kind of like a cock teaser, and it's
He can't let it go, can he? He just cannot let it go.
It's just going to get worse. So we also just embrace the cock and just go with it. And
well, that's
give
what
it
she
said.
You guys can do what you need to do. I'm out.
Perry just kicked the stilettos off. It's getting real.
So if I could ask, what 6 do you want to discuss? Let's start there.
Let's start there.
List them out.
Yeah.
Not in any particular order.
Not in any particular order, but we're going to talk about Claude. We're going to talk about ChatGPT. We're going to talk about Grok. We're going to talk about Microsoft Copilot. We're going to talk about Meta AI and Gemini. Those are all the major.
Those are Google, Facebook, Microsoft.
Yeah. So you have Claude is Anthropic.
Yep.
We've talked about Dario and Anthropic and Cursor and Claude and them being in the headlines, right? And the battle between him and the DO. I guess it's not ODOD officially. Name is DOW.
Yeah.
The Dow.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have much problem with that.
No. And then we've also talked about ChatGPT, and when that trial going on out right now in OpenAI, and that's their platform, so they're owned by OpenAI. And then you have Gemini, which is Google's platform. We've been talking about them making headlines this week as well, right?
News, yep.
So they're. You didn't think Google's going to sit on all that cash and just not do anything, right? Yeah, they were coming. They're coming from behind a little bit, but kind of like that Derby race, Lou. They were coming around that corner strong, and they've come on. So they've really made some headway.
Well, what a better place to build it in than a web browser. They own that.
Well, they do, and then we talked about that, right? We talked about that in the headlines with the OpenAI, rolling out their cell phones, and with the AI enabled, and we talked about the Apple settlement this week in the headlines, and Apple settling for $250 million with the FTC because they were falsely alleged. The bourbon hasn't gotten to me that quick yet to let that roll off.
That's the attorney in them.
That's right. That's allegedly that they were falsely advertising the iPhone 16 as having AI capabilities that it did not have yet. So they decided to settle for a hand slap for $250 million and move on their way. And then we're also going to talk about Meta AI. And Meta, obviously, for those out there that know Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, he's one of the largest and biggest.
You have to be living under a rock.
Well, but there may be some that don't understand that Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, and I think they own WhatsApp, and they've been acquiring, as we've talked about. They tried to acquire that company out of Singapore, but that got shut down. So they were trying to get their agentic fix quickly by acquiring them, and China said, no, that's going to put you ahead of us, and we're not going to let you do it. So that's with.
Let me ask you. I just heard a word come out of your mouth that I've heard a couple of times in the last week or so.
Cock.
Very, 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 very in tune there.
I wanted to beat him to it, Louis. God,
maybe we should have a drinking game at the end of this. How many times we say cock, huh?
Sorry, Lou. I'm sorry.
The word is agentic, and somebody said that. Intellectually, I want to come at this from the standpoint of a lot of your listeners and our listeners might be a little bit more novice in this whole AI world. So tell me exactly what agentic is. Is it a thing? Is it a noun? Is it what is it? Tell me.
Much like lubricity, it may have a couple different meanings. Okay. But agentic does, it is kind of the common noun when you're talking about the AI agent world. And we've referenced agents a few times, and agents, unlike the normal point A to point B task that used to be out there in the AI world, and you would give it a very defined element of what it had to do to complete the task. Agents are almost, in a sense, when I say human-like, I'm not trying to use it in the sense that they're like us, but they're like us in the sense that they can do more of that. They're more generalized. They can figure out the best way to accomplish that. And it may be multiple steps in between without you having to tell them.
Okay.
So it's pretty powerful, and it's actually, that was the very basic agentic world. And when I say agentic world, then I'm talking about the agent world. And that is the big push right now with all these frontier models. They're trying to get ahead. They're trying to be more efficient. They're trying to be more powerful at the same time. And they're trying to be able to be ready for this agentic inflow that's happening so quickly all around us, So, Mythos is everything, we talked about Mythos and that being so powerful, right? That they have to take it off the shelf and say that we can't use it. And we hear all about, and again, those are headlines, and those are headlines that we've talked about even during the podcast, and some of the bad the bad off the rails when the agents go rogue.
Okay.
So you might give them a task and say, I want you to do this, and it might do it right the first time, might do it right the second time, might do it right the third time, and then now you're getting confident that it's going to keep doing it right, and you turn your head around, and the next thing you know, it's doing this.
Okay. Let me ask you, what would put it off the rails? What would make it go off the? That's where I was talking with my one young nephew about this, and he's just actually his younger brother, and he's just getting into this world. And we were talking about how it gets it right, and you get all enamored with, I can ask AI anything, and they told me this, and they told me that, and they told me this, and then all of a sudden they came up with this other answer,
And it's just completely not
it totally
based
blew
with
me
anything.
away
Yeah.
because it didn't seem to mesh with anything that I may have put in,
Right.
Any of my input. What makes it go, Brad, off the track
So
in that third or fourth iteration?
Yeah, no, and it can happen on the first iteration.
Okay.
So it's the word they use in the AI world is hallucination, and it sometimes or it drifts, or it can just go rogue. I mean, it really there is no, unlike before where you would give it a script and you would have very specific instructions that these were the confines. With the agentic world, they're already programmed. And they're already programmed, and it's almost like a neurological setup in a digital sense, because they have all these different inference layers that are, and when I use the word inference, I'm saying that they're now able to learn from what they go out and do, and then use that to build off what they've already been trained on.
And when they do that, is that specific to a person they are being the agent for, or is that just general? Is it applicable universally, or does your agent, does he or she or whatever? I know when we call you, sometimes you haven't. Is it your agent that answers the phone sometimes?
It's my voice agent. That Lotto AI was so nice to set up for me. And,
right?
Great Pittsburgh AI company, Mike, and the guys down there. Thank you so much. And it's awesome because that it answers all the initial calls. I get a full transcript into my email. It's trained on every one of my books. It's trained on every one of my articles.
So it is specific to you and your persona and the way you would respond.
But that's a very confined agent. Okay, so
Okay.
Let's use the headline that we used the other morning as an example, and that was the medical school. And there was obviously a medical student that was pretty tech savvy that he was able to reverse engineer this, right, Per?
Yeah, that's the impressive part. It's like you're going to medical school, maybe you have a future
right?
elsewhere.
Well, there's probably going to be a crossover there, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
And he was looking at the applications to that medical school and trying to figure out whether or not there was any bias in the way the agents were kind of in a lot of companies, including schools and not just limited to schools, companies, are using it in their HR departments. And so you still have to follow all the rules that are out there as far as discrimination and biasness and all that stuff.
Sure.
So he kind of went backwards, and he was able to show that there's been a pattern of biasness. And so when you ask how does it get off the rails, because it may have been trained on the right stats, well, agents tend to drift at times. So you always have to have a human in the loop, which I always pitch on, and you always have to be testing it. Periodically. I'm not saying all the time, but you got to be testing it. That you don't just say, "Hey, look, I did it 3 or 4 times. Now I'm pretty confident it's ready to go."
Sure.
And that's what's happened. Then you kind of turn your back, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with a big problem. So, and at the end of the day, the actors, you say, then those again, it's the articles I've been writing about lately on LinkedIn about the governance, structure. Who's accountable for that? Are you going to point the finger at the agent? You can't hold an agent liable. So
an agent is a fictitious. It doesn't exist, right?
Well,
it exists.
Maybe we can get into that in the 5th segment on the philosophical level.
Yes, no doubt. Right.
But so the accountability is really starting to become very important now, especially that for example, the European Union Act, which was the first major act that rolled out the transparency, the disclosures, the high risk levels, all these different things that companies have to follow when they're operating on a global scale. California has followed very similar suit. Colorado has followed very similar suit. New York, and you can go right down the line of all these different patchwork of states. Connecticut, we just talked about this week, Perry, in one of the headlines. Just passed a very comprehensive AI Act, and not only are states passing this, but they're doing it for a good reason, and that is that there needs to be accountability. And at the end of the day, who's accountable, if it's a person or if it's a company, then if you're the company, you got to look into your personnel and say, all right, who's responsible for this?
Okay.
And a lot of companies now are hiring actually chief AI officers. They're hiring AI governance
The
directors.
philosopher, the theologians, and everything that you suggested.
Well, and the theologians are more on the training side, Luke.
Sure.
So they're trying to train they're trying to train the model so that they're working in a way that is intended. So you have this intention of how these agents work, and knowing it firsthand how I'm working with these 51 agents that go out every night in my platform, and you have these intentions of how you want them to work. but let's make sure that they are working. And how do we box them in with rules? Absolute no-nos, exclusions, and then how do we have a monitoring system that's watching them work?
So those two or three things that you just mentioned, are those some of the things that are going to differentiate those 6 companies that you started our segment with? And maybe tell me and enlighten our listeners as to what differentiates those 6, and what's going to, if they're all racing to get the same information aggregated and disseminated, is it just a matter of who gets there first and who disseminates it better? Or is it disseminated and distributed with a different philosophy, a different spiritual slant or bias to it? What is going to differentiate those 6 firms that you spoke of?
And I think we've seen,
segment?
I think we've seen that a little bit with the way it's played out in the press. We had, Dario with Anthropic taking a hard stance against the Department of War, saying, no, if you're not going to allow us to have one of our engineers, even on classified information, overlooking our model to make sure our model, you can block off the classified information. We just want to make sure our model is working.
Okay.
And the Department of War said, no, you're not going to tell us what to do. You're out. In fact, then they...
Oh, that's kind of reversed now.
Well, it is now, because now they've realized and we're going to get into this when we do get into the models. But when we're going to talk about the platforms right now, there is a little bit of an agentic working going on behind the scenes when it comes to ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot. But when you want to really get into the agentic world, and that'll be another episode if we're going to talk about. So we're talking about agents. When you ask that word, and it's a great conversation, because it's headlines right now. You talk about agentic, you talk about agents, you're probably seeing it all over if you're seeing anything with AI.
Everywhere you look,
right? So, and that is the next level. And we will get it. I will promise we'll dedicate the different platforms out there, that are dedicated to, such as Cursor. That's what I've been using to develop my 2 legal platforms. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see how these agents react. It's awesome to see how the coding agent reacts back and forth as you go. And it's impressive. And you can see why, the way they're trained, you almost feel like you're getting the personality of you can almost see the engineer, behind the scenes, that train this come through.
Is it possible that these can be manipulated by the head engineer and his psyche versus a team that is working together? So if you have one psycho who is in charge of an AI team, and he creates his structure based on his mind, which may be a little bit out there or different.
Non-linear.
Non-linear, yes.
Well, it is possible, and that was one of the headlines, when somebody hacked in and got a model to actually go out and buy crypto. Okay. It was ready to go and take, money and buy crypto, and thank goodness they were able to shut it down before it happened. They're all vulnerable at some sort of extent, right? And so you're giving them these, hard stops. You're giving them these, these guardrails to say, and these exclusions and these hard rules that are not supposedly compromising, but it still is trying to learn, and it's still being rewarded behind the scenes based on its performance. So it's somewhat of a reward system, and I'm breaking that down very simplistic. I don't want to get too involved in that, but they are being monitored, and like if you push it, and I've tried to push a couple of these things, just to see where it would go. It'll say I'm not allowed to do that. It's a platform, and then you can imagine that there are some genius, guys that have hacked into things that didn't know exactly the words to tell it, right? Because maybe there is a trigger. Maybe there is a threat. We talk about the 15 Christian leaders that being there for somebody that's going to create self-harm. Maybe that's being, I don't know. I'm just saying these guys figure out a way to figure out where that sliver is, and there's always a sliver. There's always a sliver of vulnerability, and so because of that, your question broaches right into my operational AI governance book, because that's exactly what you need. You need I have a 16-layer framework that is set up legal to start, legal to finish, and in between, we're going to do all these layers to make sure that none of these things, especially this agentic world of these agents, get off the rails and then they cost our company or somebody very, the fines are now between the EU Act, between, the Meta GDPR case going on over in Europe, which could be the biggest one, between the California regulations, between Shapiro now going after that medical company for saying that they're giving,
I did see that.
Yeah, that's the first
AI doctors that don't exist, actually.
They don't exist. They're not licensed. So, this there are serious fines, behind this. There's serious reputational damage to the companies behind this. So you have to be prepared that you're not going to get caught in that loop.
Sure. I have a tendency to look at this as a pharmacist. I look at this a little bit more on the human side of it as opposed to the technology side, which is dynamic. But there's a lot of people that are going to be so overwhelmed by this, and what may take 5 chances with somebody who is a little bit more savvy, some of the people that come in the pharmacies that I work at, they're going to be a little bit more vulnerable. And I'm curious as to whether you can have the legal here and the bookends, and in the middle is the human part of it.
Well, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but that the legal starts, the legal finishes, but legal is always, it's weaved in, and it's teams. It's not just one, it's not just one independent. These are teams that are working inherently, and it's got to be operational. It just can't be a document checklist. It can't be just that. It's got to be woven into the fabric of your organization from the start to the finish, from the top to the bottom. And this has all got to be a team effort that we all are aware of what can happen. We have to be on the outlook of what can happen. And better yet, now with the great coding that's going on, we can actually, in many ways, build it in, like we were talking about IBM's, enterprise, where they're building it right into the code. So the code won't allow it to happen because it's coded in, which is the best way to do it. But that doesn't always work, and Abhishek's a genius at that as well. Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but my cock's getting low, and I'm ready to refill. So we'll
probably take a break.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
See you in a few.
Mike, NIL is getting expensive. Schools need new revenue.
Yeah, but not another alumni fundraiser. I've got enough tote bags.
What if your ED meds saved you 10% and donated 10% to JMU?
Wait, what? How?
AlumniMeds.com. You get U.S. licensed healthcare, and the school gets a cut. Win, win, win.
Now that's a stat I can get behind. Go Dukes!
Already low prices, fast turnaround, totally discreet. Visit AlumniMeds.com and choose your alma mater to...
This has been Bourbon with Brad. Be sure to like and follow. Cheers.
And we're back.
We are back.
We got more cock, and we are ready to talk about more AI.
And I'm ready to listen.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get into the 6 different platforms I talked about, and we're not talking about agents today or the agentic world. We're talking about the LLMs, where these are large language models that are trained. Okay, and they've come out with different versions now, and you might have seen like ChatGPT release this version or Copilot release this version. We've talked about Gemini releasing this version, and they've gotten better. And Claude has done the same thing, and we're going to start with Claude today. Now, Claude is the Anthropic. It's Dario's, baby. He was, again, for those that are maybe listening for the first time, Dario was the genius at ChatGPT that created ChatGPT 2 and 3. The versions that we're talking about. So he decided to leave. He had a little bit of a difference of opinion as to the principles of how the operations were being run, and clearly he's stuck to his principles. And so has OpenAI to the point where they're battling it out with Elon this week. But Claude doesn't have necessarily the biggest daily user base. So we're talking 10 to 15 million users a day, and that sounds like a big number. But when we get into the other ones, you're going to see that number is actually very small. But it is one of the more. It does have a. And if I'm looking down at my phone, I want to make sure I'm saying these stats right. It's 70% of the new enterprise deals, and that's a big freaking number when it comes to the enterprise, and that's where they're really differentiating themselves. We talked about them breaking into the financial world this week, right, Bear?
Yep.
Them cutting deals with BlackRock and some of the other couple of big financial companies, which is a very highly regulated industry, as you know, and just much like the pharmacy or health industry. You want to make sure if you're using these platforms that you have a well-reasoning platform that can figure, the instructions. We're talking about this instructions on the back end. But those, again, I'm differentiating as to what that is. In Claude and in Cursor, we want to keep those separate, and what the enterprise version is. What I'm trying to focus on today is just the consumer. So if you're the consumer and you're going to the App Store and you want to download one of these apps, then I would recommend you download them all, because that's what I did. And people are like, well, am I going to download them all and all of a sudden I'm going to get the subscription every month? Well, yeah, that's the very big fear, right? And that's probably the big fear that Nikki probably had this morning when she was asking you which one to put on the bookmark on the right?
Yep.
Because, you download an app and all of a sudden it might have been free to start, and then 7 days later you're getting charged. And these platforms have to be transparent. They're abiding by the same laws as anybody else. And in fact, they're under a microscope right now with the transparency, So Claude does offer a free version too, and it does limit you though, but let's talk about its strengths. It's best at doing the very complex reasoning. So whatever you're doing, whether it's a financial dissection, whether it's I've been using it as the Cursor in the Cursor agents, and I'm just using that as an example because it's all kind of similarly trained on the large language models in the background. I've been using that for my legal research backbone, and it's very powerful, and I highly recommend using Claude. But again, if you're an attorney out there, you got to be very careful what you put into Claude. You hear about these nightmare stories, right? And we talked about those too, I think, early on, Per. And if we didn't, if you're in one of these regulated industries, you hear about these nightmare stories. So if you're under this privacy, and you have either an attorney-client privacy relationship and a doctor-patient client relationship, and you're entering any of that sensitive information into ChatGPT, Claude, or any of these, Sam Altman's come out and said, there is no protection.
It's fair game.
It is fair game. And in fact, I have an article out there that's saying that we should have a uniform, Privacy Act for these, much like the attorney, doctor or attorney or doctor, privilege that exists, because people think that they're, putting this in and it's just between them and that. Well, it's not. In fact, some of the ChatGPT searches have showed up on Google. Now, can you imagine if you had your patient information out there, or if you had, your client's information out there, if you're a financial insurance or attorney, right?
Yeah.
And people are, putting that stuff into it, not knowing that just using the free version, you got to be very careful.
So not to interrupt, I don't want to interrupt you, but so are you saying that with the free version, there's you give up a lot of that security
generally
freedoms, but if you're paying, they don't do that?
Well, you can pay. You can get to tiers where they promise you, and I think Dave Broch has even, brought it up on our first episode. And if you get into the tiers, they promise you that it's closed off. It's kind of more boxed in. Amazon's, AWS and Microsoft's Azure are, on the cloud networks are trying to give those assurances as well. But anytime you put it into any third party, if you're in one of those regulated industries, you got to be concerned because
read, define, print.
Yeah, always read the terms and conditions. And the terms and conditions these days don't necessarily protect you. So you have to then figure out, well, and that's kind of where Amazon's going. So they've realized this, and they're, again, Jeff Bezos is ahead of the curve, like many, like Elon and the rest of them. Their new servers are now being installed at their cost on your company's site, if you want that. So then you're not going to the cloud. Then you're not having to go into the general trained model. We're bringing the model to you, and you know that you are within these four walls, and it's just you.
It's like off the grid almost.
It's almost off the grid. It's kind of like what the Abhishek does too, right? So which is brilliant, and it is a powerful way to do the governance structure.
Interesting.
So, Brad, you mentioned Claude. That's kind of who we're talking about
we are.
here. I keep mentioning my nephews, but my nephew is in the financial services world, and they are a financial modeling firm based in Florida, and that's what they use. Yeah. And he said it is an invaluable tool to us, and he didn't endorse it necessarily over anybody else. They just haven't tried anybody else, but he's a big fan of Claude. And he thinks Claude is the one. I don't know. I guess where I'm going with that question is Claude the one that becomes a go-to in the financial world versus the scientific or world or something else? Is Claude the go-to in that world at this particular point in time?
I think so. I mean, and I'm not the only one saying that. I personally have used it for reports. I used it for the stats that I'm going to be citing off here today. It does an amazing job, and it's frankly it's very honest, because sure. I told it, I said, look, I'm talking on our podcast, and it wasn't like, here, let me just tell you all about Claude. So and it came out and said right away, and which I really appreciate, and it said, look, all these platforms have their strengths and weaknesses. There isn't just one go-to platform that is just the go-to,
right?
You know, which for us as a consumer you're all going, oh shit! I mean, now we have to go get six different subscriptions, right? So
it's different work.
Well, we like you getting 6 different prescriptions.
Yeah, there we go again,
from
right?
The pharmacist.
That was the cock talking. But
oh shit!
But you know, so but you don't have to get them all, you know. And here's what I do. So I do have Claude, and I have the Enterprise. I have and I told you, Perry, I upgraded, to do this as I'm doing the platform coding, but I'm downgrading next month because I've been using it every day, almost 14 hours a day. So you want to make sure you have access. You might want to make sure it's not slowing you down. And that's what they tend to do after a while. They kind of slow you down when you start using it too much.
Didn't Claude tell you were coding too much and to take a break or something?
Yeah, it told me, he said, Brad, you're done.
Yeah.
Is that because they have to, Brad, because of their bandwidth or their ability to provide
we talked about the Anthropic deal that they just cut with SpaceX, right, down in Texas.
Crazy.
So they only have so much GPU space to share around, right? And they're trying to share it around as many as possible to get the biggest bang for the buck. They're on a limited budget from each of us, and we're not paying more for which eventually probably are going to. You can kind of see that coming, right? But in the enterprise market, you do pay more once you reach a level, and then you pay by the usage. But on the platforms right now as they exist, and we're going to update this every so often because this is a changing world. But as of today, right now it's a flat fee for the consumer that wants to just ask questions back in this chat format. And it's also voice format. See, many of them have a voice option. If you want to talk to it, it'll talk back, and it's like having a conversation.
Interesting.
It's fascinating. And so Claude yesterday was telling me at 4:45 in the afternoon, Brad, you've had a long day. It's time to get to bed. You got a big day tomorrow. I'm like, you realize it's only 4:45. You're trying to shut me down. I said, I still got 6 more hours in me. We're going. And actually, I ended up putting another 8 hours in. So
Claude's never met Brad.
Yeah, Claude got fatigued yesterday. There's no doubt. But what I was starting to say is what I appreciated what Claude said when I put this in today, and I said I want to hear the strengths and weaknesses from all 6 different platforms that we're talking about. Claude was very honest and said, look, these are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. There isn't one of us that is a wholesale solution to whatever you're looking to do. So depending on what you're looking to do, and let me just give you personal examples of what I've been doing as a way of maybe simplifying this instead of getting into the tech stats, right? So when I want to create an image, we were talking about marketing. I remember how I was saying, look, you can create these videos, you can create the images. The best platforms that I have found to do that is one. Copilot was ridiculously not good on that. So every time I would try to ask it to create an image, and that's Microsoft. So, and a lot of people just inherently get Microsoft Copilot if you have the enterprise Microsoft 365. And that's why they have the large, one of the largest, because they're inherently.
Well, even, I mean, they're on literally every OS that's not a Macintosh. Is Windows. So it's in your face all the time. Even the free version, it's built into the main bar at the bottom. I mean, it's smart.
It's there.
Smart.
So
it's right there.
It's right there. Whether you like it or not, and that's why they have 100 million users, because you just get it. You get it with your Microsoft Docs, spreadsheet, Words, everything, PowerPoint, all that stuff, and it's now Microsoft 365. They're saying basically we're just everywhere. So you get that. But I found that Microsoft, at this point, their Copilot, and I'm a big fan of Copilot, don't get me wrong. I mean, the Copilot has been very good to me in my writing my books. I use it to create the glossaries. I use it to give me brainstorm ideas, help me organize the chapters. Once I get lined up in an organized fashion, then I can roll. It just comes off.
Sure.
Comes off the tongue like a chicken cock.
Oh my God.
But it's also very, and I know I'm jumping around here, but and I don't mean to demean. I'll get to what Copilot's strengths are.
Have we transitioned into Copilot now? Or are you still talking?
No. I don't. I want to keep it tries. I'm going to try to keep this segment as best as I can over Bourbon. Okay, but we're still talking about Claude, and there's different strengths and weaknesses. And I was just trying to use an example of how Copilot was not one for doing the marketing. So Claude is very strong at doing anything that you need intellectual reasoning. I mean,
that would make sense, given what my nephew's doing in the
I'm talking deep reasoning.
Sure.
Really good at, really good if you push it on a scientific level too. I found that too. I was just playing with it just to say, hey, listen. And I gave it this, this science problem. I said, listen, if you have this problem, there's all these solutions out there. Let's break it down biologically. Just now, forget all the solutions that humans have created.
Okay.
Now, know what you know biologically. What would you suggest? And it threw out 4 different options that are not even on the market. Now, again, I'm not a scientist. I don't know if they work, and that's why I'm not even using the example specifically because I don't want to put it out there. Sure. But it's crazy. And you're hearing about that, and that's why I say AI is going to be the biggest push in the health field because it's able to synthesize information so quickly and take it, instead of a scientist or a PhD or a doctor having to figure out from 38,000 white papers, how do we get all this put together and connect the dots? It can do it so instantaneously. And Claude is that application. If you have a complex problem, Claude is very strong.
Makes sense why my nephew's using it in the financial modeling world.
But if you're looking to do imaging or marketing, Claude is not your answer.
Which one is?
Well, and so Gemini,
really for images.
Well, in ChatGPT now. I mean, ChatGPT just came out with their number 2.0, and I played around with it.
That's right. And they bragged that up.
They did, and you guys saw the result in the last segment, our 5th segment, Bourbon picture, and I'm going to put it right over us right now.
It will be seen on the video.
It is very high resolution. It was the very first try too. And so when I was, and many people probably did the same thing when you were asking ChatGPT or you're asking any of these platforms back in the day, even 6 months ago. I say back in the day, 6 months ago.
That is back in the day.
Well, and it is in the fast moving AI world.
A week ago is back in the day.
It is. The words are misspelled. You got 5-6 fingers. You got, just distortions. It is good. If you give it detailed prompts and you say, and that's where you really learn. And you guys remember that old elementary school and maybe middle school exercise. I don't know if you did it, but I did it. And the teacher said, listen, you have to put a blindfold on. You have to follow instructions exactly.
Yeah, I failed at that.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking.
You and I went to kindergarten 20 years apart.
Well, we did, but
we had different blindfolds.
But just follow along with the exercise, even if you didn't.
Yeah.
I actually did the exercise, and that's what it reminds me of. Okay, so when I can remember being in 3rd grade, and they blindfolded us, and you had to follow your fellow students' instructions to the T, and the teacher said just follow it to the T, and that's exactly. Think about that with prompting. So when you're talking with these, the ChatGPTs, the Copilots, the Cursor. They're going to follow you to the T. So when you're doing your instructions, the more concise, the more every word matters. And right now, I find breaking it into segments and keeping it very simple is better. Because once you get off on a tangent or on the wrong line, right now where I see the weaknesses in every one of them, is it starts going down that line. It's hard to bring them back. And you almost have to open up a whole new chat and start all over again, So
you're still talking about the marketing side now or the
marketing? No, I'm just talking about the in general, all 6 of them, much like a Microsoft Word folder program, you can create all these different folders or all these different chats, they call them. And you can call it whatever you want. And it's kind of like having this file system there that they...
See, I did not know you could do that. So you can compartmentalize each one into a folder and then go back to it.
Then go back and you can ask it. Some do, and I'm finding now with the new updates, they don't remember necessarily. They were remembering for a while.
That's like me.
And they could go back up the line and see it. But now I think I'm blaming it on. I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing that they're trying to save GPU space, right? They're trying to save this and make it more efficient. They're trying to spread it around so everybody gets the wealth of this information at their hands. And I'm going back in the chats and I'm asking it to reference something, and it doesn't know what I'm talking about. So now you have to copy and paste it back into the chat. You got to bring it back. You can upload, you can attach a document, you can attach a video, you can attach, or at least a image. I'm sorry, videos aren't quite there yet, but they're getting to that point with that multimodal mode that we're talking about coming on in the frontier model. So, and what's really cool about all this is it's able to now take your text, the document uploaded, its training information, and put it all together and synthesize it and come up with the answers for you. And that's across all 6 of these. Now, some are better than others. Again, on the complex reasoning, Claude, by far, right now, heads and shoulders. I know ChatGPT just released that 5.5, I think last week. We talked about that. I haven't had enough time, to be honest, to give you the fair assessment on that, but
they tout its image creation ability.
Well, and they came out image 2.0, and that's very good. And I told you we came up with the 5th segment image as a result of that very first try.
Pretty awesome,
and it looks awesome. And what I will say is the folks out there right now that have delved into ChatGPT, and maybe it's the ChatGPT folks. You never know who it's coming from, right? But they're saying it's very good. It's off the chart on the index. So it's almost comparable to Mythos as far as security level. So when you get so complex, you get so good reasoning, Lou, then it becomes a defense mechanism, right? So and not just an offensive tool, it's a double-edged sword. It can go both ways. And kind of like Perry, the way he dresses. So,
Again, we digress.
They had to show up at some point.
Yeah, right.
So we've got Claude is the
Claude.
I'm going to go with Claude's the science, the smart guy.
It's the financial. It's the reasoning. It's the backbone of my legal structure. And I very purposely researched this out. That's me. I want to research. I want to find. And I saw it out, and I wasn't a Claude guy when I came into this. I was a Copilot guy, and I still am. For my daily, when I'm helping draft me an email or help me, polish this up or edit this or look at this or I'm stuck on this sentence. Copilot is so awesome. We're going to get into Copilot here next, sure. But Claude on the deep reasoning, the deep research, following complex multi-step instructions. Impressive. And what I've used, and it's been such a great dynamic, so if you're out there coding in any one of these, what they call vibe coding, and vibe coding is just somebody that is talking back and forth, whether it's through a chat box or verbally to a chat box and telling them what I want. And then the trained model, the agent behind there is actually going to create the code to create that.
I just learned in the last 24 hours that vibing, one of my young coders said, I'm going to vibe up a code here and vibe up a site. And I literally said, does that mean you're going to create? Apparently, vibing is the new word for creating. And
Perry, we've been talking about creating we have just been so busy with our headlines and everything else. We haven't had a chance to still tackle, and I want to show you one-on-one how we can create something that you might have in mind, right? So
yeah, we will. We'll get to it. It's just life's been getting in the way.
It has a little bit, all good things, right? Senior night last night, things. All great things, So
we got Claude.
We got
Copilot. Yeah, we're going to talk about Copilot.
We're going to talk about Copilot, and so let me just. So I talked about a couple of the weaknesses, and obviously one of the weaknesses with Claude is the imaging, and I even challenged it because I'm looking to do some marketing for my site. So imaging videos, in video clips, they just take a lot of energy and a lot of GPU bandwidth, right? So anytime you ask any of these platforms, they're going to say, Well, initially they would give you maybe up to 7 or 8 seconds of videos. A lot of them are saying, I don't have that capability anymore. They've just shut it down.
I've heard that.
So now you almost have to go through like a third party dedicated. And in video, and that's not one of the ones we're talking about tonight, but it's one of them that I'm going to promote a little bit, not because I'm getting paid, but because I use it. And in video is much like these, you go in there and you can either tell it what you want. You can upload a script of what you want. You can do a combination of both. You can upload your logo, and it created my video for Docket Daily. It created my video for Newton. It created my video for a lot of different things that we've done, right? And
We're actually using that one when Sora went by the wayside. To what was that? Just 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had our young guys say, "Hey guys, we got to find something else," because Sora was actually very useful for what we needed at the time.
Yeah.
And this is what they replaced it with. So
Yeah, no, it's a good platform, and I've found it to be very well. It does very well, and I don't have to go back and forth too many times. And what's cool, much like the platforms we're talking about, it saves every one of your projects in a folder, and you can always go back. And it doesn't cost any additional money unless you're asking it to bring in an additional generative generative images or creation or videos into it. You can tweak the verbiage.
That's why we used it. We had the same video that we wanted to create 100 times with a different color.
Yeah, and you can go back and forth without being charged another $1.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons our guys.
And that's a very strong case. Now, they do charge you every time you want, and they're going to charge you credits. They call it credits now.
Right.
It was on a fee basis before, but they switched it over maybe 6-8 months ago, and it's similar the way they analogized it, but it's different. But it's on a credit basis now, so they're gonna associate so many credits depending on what it feels it's going to have to do in the back end GPU work to create this, and it's been good. It's been very good. I've been impressed by it. It's very realistic. You can create all these different voices. I've used it in video for our voiceovers. Whether it's the English lady or whether it's the Better with Bourbon raspy voice. They have all these different options, and it's really cool if you're trying to create marketing, and it doesn't take a lot of work. People are like, "Well, that's so complex. Maybe I go in." No, you just go in there. You just tell it what you want. It spits it out, and if you don't like it, you can tell it what you want to change, and then you can pull up the script, and you can tweak the script if you want to tweak the script. You can tweak the speed.
Whose product is this?
Invideo.
Okay, but
Invideo.
Right. Yes.
But I thought that went away.
No, that was Soro. That was
Soro. I'm sorry.
Sora went away, and Invideo is who we have.
Are they independent?
They are. They're a big independent, company, and their sales have bolstered tremendously because unlike Claude and ChatGPT, these are $20, $40, $60, maybe $200 a month. You're paying at the top end. I can easily spend on Invideo if I'm doing 2 or 3 videos. That eats up $200 or $300 right there.
But I mean, think about what you would pay like an ad agency to put that together.
If you had to hire your own drag, production manager to get the lights just perfectly.
Yeah, it's not even close. I see where you went with that.
You see where I'm going with that, right? So anyways, that's Invideo, and that's off on a little tangent again, but I think it's really good to know because, as you're going through these different platforms, and one of the things all 6 of them don't do is what Invideo does. Sora was very good at it, but Meta, and I think Sora was a Meta product, right? And I think they're coming out with a better product down the line, and that's why they shut it down. And again, the bourbon's getting to my head. I didn't use Sora myself, so
it's almost like McDonald's and McRib. They're taking it off the market only to bring it back at a better cost.
Perry, look up real quick. Is Sora Meta, or was it?
I'll look it up.
I don't think it was ChatGPT. I think it was Meta.
I know our young guy said that was one of the easiest ones to work with.
It was, and they made it very.
They were perfect for our 10 to 15 second blurbs that we needed, and it was disappointing because they have to now learn, and they're quick learners. But it's easy. But still, it's something new, right?
But it is. So when you get into any of these platforms, you're going to see some commonalities in all of them, and that is a chat box. It's an upload box. It's going to be different features you can add. And then you get into it and you get into the details. So like when I was talking about Invideo, you can get into the script, you can get into the music, you can get into the time, you can get into the speed, you can slow it down, you can get a pause, you can do all these different things. You can upload your images, you can upload your own video. You can do all these things to integrate. It gives you a lot of creativity, flexibility when it comes to marketing.
Is it SORO?
SORA. Yep.
That explains why George Soros came up.
Yeah, your favorite.
And now this isn't one of your 6 platforms that we're talking about. We're talking about just a company that does videos, right? It's not one of the main AI platforms.
And the only reason I kind of go off on this tangent, Louis, is because a lot of people go to these platforms looking to create images, or they go to these platforms looking to create videos. Well, videos
that was actually OpenAI.
OpenAI. It was OpenAI. Yeah. So I thought there was. That's why I paused on Meta. Yeah. And so OpenAI is trying to now, the rumorville is it's coming out, and it came out with Image 2.0. So, it's coming up.
Yeah, it says they closed it as of April 26th.
Yeah, I thought it was, I knew it was either Meta or OpenAI, but they closed it down, and now the rumor is they're coming out with something more powerful. So, and obviously the bandwidth needs to be there and needs to be ready to go. So they tried to take that offline, get ready for what's coming, Sure. So there's something to come, and we'll update everybody. But we're going to finish the little chicken cock that we got in our mouths right now, and we'll be right back after this.
See you in a bit.
Cheers.
With a mouthful of feathers.
Mike, NIL is getting expensive. Schools need new revenue.
Yeah, but not another alumni fundraiser. I've got enough tote bags.
What if your ED meds saved you 10% and donated 10% to JMU?
Wait, what? How?
AlumniMeds.com. You get U.S. licensed healthcare, and the school gets a cut. Win, win, win.
Now that's a stat I can get behind. Go Dukes.
Already low prices, fast turnaround, totally discreet. Visit AlumniMeds.com and choose your alma mater to...
And we are back in the Bourbon Studios. Studio.
That's STUDIOS.
Yeah, that's studio. Don't to be confused with Invideo. Well, we were talking about Invideo before we left.
Invideo and Nvidia, which and
NVIDIA,
I jump in too quickly with Nvidia and how they play into this whole thing.
Well, actually, they are the back. You're talking about NVIDIA. They are the backbone chip, and they have and to Jensen's to his foresight, he has entered into partnerships with just about every major player out there. So they're all in bed together. Just
he hasn't called me, so I'm waiting. And my phone, hey, Jensen, my phone is always on, right?
Yeah, but
you want to call and talk about anything?
He's a very brilliant.
Do you have some secret chip that you've developed that nobody knows about, or what?
No, actually, but I do what I've learned. Actually, this week I saw what happened to Micron Technologies and SanDisk, and I hate to keep referring to my nephews, but I said, Nick, I'm going to tell you. This Micron Technology thing, my buddy Johnny White and I 20 years ago were playing in his stock and thinking, hey, let's watch his stock. If we can get from 8 to 9.
This was probably back in the tech boom when it was going crazy.
It was when it first came out.
But you know what? Those companies that are still here today,
they're killing it.
They are. And we talked about that. And that was my industry pick. It's the GPU. Well, it's not just the GPU, but it's now getting into what's going to be the memory chips, So whether it's a GPU chip, which we know NVIDIA has kind of a corner on now, AMD, Samsung, you go down the line of ARM that we talked about today in the headlines over in Britain. But there is definitely now a big need for the memory chips. Because these frontier models, which are, if everybody's out there, and if anybody wants to look at all these different terms that were thrown around, on the AI-enabled executive or BradleyJMartineau.com, if you go onto my site, I have a glossary of terms if you go down to the bottom, and I have over 100 terms. And I try to, every time a new term comes out, I try to add it to the site just to give a real concise one sentence, two sentence,
It's like its own language.
It is. So, and when you talk about the frontier models, those are the cutting edge right now models that are pushing the limits, and what they're looking to next, and this is where the consciousness level comes in, is that memory recall. So we're not just talking about, we talked about the different folders where you can go back into it, and you hope that the chat, and you get into that folder, and most of them used to be able to go back up the folder and find the information that you had been talking about. Now it's saying, look, I've been told to just summarize it and find out what I have. And that's what I've seen recently. I'm talking like in the last couple of days. And again, I'm spending 14 hours on this a day. So I'm seeing this firsthand. I'm going, what?
You're probably the first person that AI has said, you need to slow down, dude.
Oh, I did.
Can I chime in on that 14-hour thing? Because this intrigued me when you said that you were using maybe too much GPU. That leads me to think, okay, so all of this is based on having GPU, storage, energy, everything that goes into this. And the example I was talking with Perry about during the break was, let's assume that Claude has 1 million opportunities in a day. And if you're using 100,000 of those, they got to tell you to slow down because they only have 900,000 left.
So they do. So what they do is they allocate what they're doing now, and that's pretty much across the board, not just in Claude, but all 6 of them. When you get outside the free version, and even the free version, they allocate you so much for the free version, and they tell you, now you've used your limit, you're done for the day. Come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. or whatever time it is.
Sure.
That's on the free version. That's also on the paid versions. I realized that, and I pushed it to the limits where it's saying to me, hey, you're 90%, you're 95%, you're done. Or you've exceeded your limit in this chat. You can't I'm in a chat right now where I've been iterating back and forth with Claude, and I'm using Claude to help me put in the instructions into Cursor to create my platforms.
So you're using one platform to help you with the other platform because one specializes in one thing, another specializes in another thing?
Well, and they're both Anthropic platforms, but the Cursor says it has Anthropic in the background, but what I found is that is not as strong as having a double set of Claude eyes on it coming from Cursor. So now it's like having 2 agents looking it over, and they're actually, I'm just the guy in between. Yeah, and this is where my iPhone notes has just been going crazy. I'm up to like 1,000 notes in my iPhone, right? I'm going back and forth. I'm like, all right, so tell me exactly what to tell Cursor Chat. Claude goes, all right, so here's what you got to do. And Claude will say, sometimes they'll say, look, I need more information, so ask this. And I go back and forth. I had to ask this. Come back. This is what it said. And then now I'm just copying and pasting like a fiend. And it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But when you're doing that with Claude, and I'm using this as an example, there's limits. And I'm on the $200 a month limit plan, which is the top plan that Claude offers to the consumer. And I'm getting shut down.
Okay.
So what they do initially,
supposed to get better now with this whole SpaceX deal, just saying.
Yeah, well,
they're supposed to improve on that.
I don't know. That brings in the whole. We were talking about the SpaceX deal today, and it's it brings in a whole nother thing. Is Elon cutting a deal behind OpenAI's back? Why would he be giving up all this GPU bandwidth to Anthropic when he has xAI and Tesla,
literally
SpaceX,
all of it, the 100% of that whole facility?
Something tells me there's a merger or something coming down the line. But
didn't I see something today that they're doing an IPO that's valued at $1.3 trillion?
Yeah, you're right on. Then we talked about that too. So Anthropic, we were talking about the $3 trillion IPOs that are going to be happening in the next 12 months.
Jesus, how do I get in on those?
Right? I mean, it's a crazy time in the financial world. It's a crazy time in the tech world. I mean, we are living through something that has not been seen, since sliced bread, fire, steel. I mean, you go through all of the different industries, right? Perry discovered the telescope in stilettos, and then
actually, you know what? That's an interesting analogy, not the stilettos one, but the steel one. So, like we're living through a time that's probably as revolutionary as those times back in whether the early 1900s or the late 1800s, when all these advancements were being made, and we may not have seen something like that until now.
Yeah.
since then.
Well, and living in the Pittsburgh region, we're very we're very
steep history.
It's steep history, right?
Yep.
And it's such a great history.
Yeah.
I was reading something today about the cobblestone streets as the steel workers would go up and down. I mean, the history it's amazing, right? And
go to the Duquesne Club with Dan Jack. You'll get all the detail of all that history, all those paintings on the wall of Rockefeller and all those guys. It's amazing.
Pittsburgh's an amazing city. I mean, if
it is,
Western Pennsylvania is.
Oh, in Western Pennsylvania is, and Indiana is the little hidden gem, right?
No, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Actually, I grew up in a little town, as you guys know, Clymer, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to make a bet that if you would dig up many of the what we call cobblestone roads around here, they were made of just little bricks. And many of them probably have Clymer written on because they were done at Swank Refractories in Clymer, Pennsylvania, which is actually how my family got here from Italy back in the day, because my grandfather was a stonemason. Where do you go? You go where there's a brickyard.
Right.
We end up in Clymer, Pennsylvania.
No kidding.
I am so happy that
I've known you all these years and I did not know that.
That's how we ended up.
That's a great story.
Yeah. But I digress a little bit.
No, but kind of like a great chicken cock bourbon. That story goes right down, and hits you right in the heart.
Sure.
So,
hits you somewhere.
And I need
Maybe
to ask
in the
you a
groin.
question. Again, when we were on break, I started thinking about, as I said, when you mentioned that you were running out of GPU and they said you need to take a break. So I started thinking about perhaps the economics of how that may affect the common person in this world, because it would seem to me to give you more bandwidth, we're going to have to build more energy, more GPU, more storage, more everything, which is going to drive the cost up.
And I think that's an important distinction to know, right? I'm not able to go and jump ahead everybody in line. It's kind of like jumping in line, right? So, I get back to my elementary school analogies. We talked about the instructions with the blindfold. It's the same thing. The companies have figured out they have so much. They've broken it down into these slivers. You have so much. This is what you get for your $20 a month subscription. This is what you get for your $50, whatever it is. Up to $200. $300, and they regulate you, and so they'll let you know, or they will just tell you you're done for the day, or you're done for your month. You've used your usage. Come back. And I was in a chat string, and like I said, I was iterating back and forth with I was doing my final logging errors, and it said I got to the point where I couldn't upload any more images. So I was trying to take images, snapshots of the imaging of the errors instead of having to copy and paste it, and it said you can't upload any more imaging. So every time you upload an image, that's more GPU.
You were eating into current capacity.
So you're eating at it, and again, I maxed out on what the consumer could buy. You're still being throttled.
Sure. Today you are.
You are.
Right. So
and I think it's only going to get worse.
Of course it is. That's becomes the crux of my question. So right now, I think we're in this building phase of what's happening here.
Yeah.
So we're going to be replacing. Everybody's worried about AI replacing humans, right? And there will come a point where there is a point where it makes sense to replace an employee with AI. As the cost of AI goes up, because it has to, because we have to build more power, we have to build bigger chips, we have to build all this. Is there then a point in the next 3 to 5 years where all of a sudden you're like, wow, now that AI, I don't need that AI anymore. I can go back to that $50,000 or $80,000 employee, and now that employee becomes more valuable again.
And I overheard you talking about that with Perry while I was taking a whiz, because I got my earphone in. Not because I was creeping on you guys.
I'm laughing at the fact that you said taking a whiz.
Yeah. So, but I agree with you. And in fact, I just saw a headline this week that didn't make the top headlines, but it was one of the companies saying, we let go of a worker, but then we realized of the enterprise levels, the additional cost of once we kind of hit that throttle, right? If you wanted to get beyond that, and it took. At the end of the day, the ROI or the return, it may not be as sweet as it looks there definitely is sweet spots. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big AI proponent, but I'm also a very realistic person that says, all right, but there are, just like this company realized, now I'm spending more. and I'm having to spend more time making sure it's doing what it does. Whereas if it was a human, it would be a little more.
Well, and the human at the end of the day keeps the economy going, because the human takes what they earned and buys more bourbon and does more things.
Yeah, they contribute back to the economy.
Well, and one thing I noticed since I've written the algorithmic state is, and I've been paying very specific attention to what all the top, folks in all these industries are saying. And I've noticed the PR pitch, at least, that they're coming across. We're not looking to replace. We're looking to enhance. And that was the one headline this morning or today that they may or may not made the headlines, but I did read it, and the gentleman said of the CEO of the company said, "Look, there's we talked about the folks or the guy from earlier in the headlines. Shit."
Was that his name?
Yeah, that was his name.
I shit.
Yeah. Oh shit. No, it was the gentleman from. He said there was two different types of workers that were going to make it. Right?
Oh yeah. So he was talking about there are two types of thinkers.
The Palantir guy.
Palantir. Yeah. He's an odd name.
Yeah.
I think of his name. Anyway, he said the hands-on people, the HVAC, the electricians, people like that, they have nothing to worry about with AI. And he said the other group that doesn't are the non-linear thinkers. We talked about this. You were here, Lou, I think. And we all joked that we're all kind of non-linear thinkers, because he said it's people with autism, with dyslexia, with all these conditions that people maybe consider a handicap, but let's face it.
Well, I think to be honest, I think it's a strength.
It is.
It's a fine line between a handicapped and a gift.
It's 100%.
Much like a Saturday and a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Look at Elon Musk. Look at all these guys that are building these AI models. None of them are linear thinkers.
No, they're not.
They're all non-linear.
I guarantee every one of these
ADD.
Folks, they were probably the kids that were picked on in elementary.
Oh, guaranteed.
But
guaranteed.
You know what? But they are brilliant. They think outside the box. They're not fault.
They don't think the way other people think. So
always think outside the box.
His point was
that was my critical thinking that law school taught me is don't always believe what you think. Always look for the counter argument. Everything, right? So always think outside the box for the kids out there. And I know the golf team follows us, and I know you guys aren't all 18 yet, and I ain't got to be, but we appreciate you following.
I hope they're not listening to all this cock talk.
Yeah, right.
You're talking about young kids?
Yeah, they know all about it.
They wrote the book.
I think they did, don't you?
But it's true.
But I would say
don't think like everybody else.
Think independently.
Differently.
Just always think where is the message coming from? Why is that message coming to me in this form? Is it truly objective, or does it have some subjectivity to it that there's a bias that's trying to sway me one way or another? And that's why I've Greg, and I should have talked about Greg about that on the last podcast, but we got into the fifth segment so easily with that, and we ran out of time. He was the very first person to tell me, just turn off the news, Brad. Once you turn off the news,
dude, I've done that.
Everything in Indiana, PA is actually pretty cool.
I have totally disconnected from. I have no live TV, no news.
Yeah, no, I did too. So I cut the cord.
Snippets here.
I cut the cord. I have no cable. I just pick and choose my streaming channels. Make sure I got the golf channel. Make sure I got the Steelers. Make sure I got.
I still try to pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
But I view it from my perspective.
Exactly. I'm going to search. I'm going to search out what I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be told what I need to know.
Exactly.
That's a great way to put it.
And that's the manipulation and the sociology experiment that we all are right now. And we have been,
Can I circle around so you can help me learn something? So you're not telling me, you're informing me. I'm going to go back to my question about when does, as the price and
Claude,
cost of all this AI, as it's going to crescendo over the next 2, 3, 5 years. Brad, do you see a point in the next, tell me how many years you see where AI will reach that crossover point where maybe it is back to now being more cost effective to have a human involved in it.
This is where it gets crazy, and this is where I want to bring Eric back on the show. And Eric is so well versed in this, and we talked about quantum a little bit, right? And that's right around the corner. So quantum is going to change everything, and quantum is the capability of being everywhere all at once. The superposition. And right now I can't get into the details of it. I started writing the book, the quantum computing for the AI or for the executive, and let me tell you what,
dummy like me.
Let me tell you, it's complex. And I got about 3 or 4 chapters in, and I realized, what, I'm probably over my head, and I need to just not do this book. But I do want to. I've been trying to continue to learn. I've been trying to continue to digest it, because they say Q day is around the corner, and then Q day is when quantum computing actually comes online. And there are, Google has quantum computing. China has one that's online. When it comes on commercially, they say they can break, passwords quickly, because it's able to figure out everything all at once. And so, to answer your question as to where the economics of this goes, yes, in the near term, there is a breaking point, and that's why they're all rushing so fast, so furious, to the point where Meta was throwing up these big, circus tents. It was cheaper to put these circus tents out there with these, turbines and the computing under there than it was to actually build the brick and mortar, because it was just a race to get this out there. But I think quantum computing is it's not the next vertical step in the advancement that we've seen throughout these years. This changes everything.
Quantum does, but I know we've had a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, we've had people in the energy field on. Quantum or whatever, none of it exists without energy.
You're right.
Right?
You're absolutely right. So what quantum's is so perfectly paired with is the fusion energy. So you put the nuclear, and it's no football in the gas business, but gas is perfectly set up right now for the environment that we're in.
Sure, it would seem to be.
Well, it is, and I think all the companies that were saying, we're going to be green, we're going to do this, they figured out real quickly if they're going to compete on the hyperscale, they're not going to get there through solar. They're not going to get there through wind.
Well,
they're not going to get there through geothermal. All these other alternative energies that are out there, which I'm not foot-pawing them, but they have their limitations.
Sure,
and they have their limitations of scale, and we're so off. And I know we're trying to be. And by the way, we've acknowledged that we're going to have this is going to have to be a 2-part, but we're going to get to every one of these. But
I know I took you off track with our 6.
But I want to talk about the This is the questions that everybody is asking. These are the questions that are happening over bourbon, right? And these are the questions that are happening during the day. You're wondering, well, okay, so if Brad Martineau sits there and just pounds Claude like it's his jockey at the Derby until he gets across the finish line, am I going to get to that finish? They've regulated it. They've internally set it up to make sure, and they've had to, because I think they were getting burnt. They were getting all this influx of money, and they realized, my goodness, we have a few people. In fact, they had that China company. Remember that, Perry, when we had that on there? That China company that was using Claude.
They were using it to train their own model.
Reverse training. Instead of setting up these GPUs in an infrastructure setting, Lou.
What was the name of that company? We just talked about it the other morning. We talked about this a month or so ago.
Yeah,
they were using our AI systems to train their models, and then our AI systems figured out what they were doing and tried to like deep six. It was like this.
It's like Muhammad Ali. It's a reverse rope-a-dope.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was
sure.
So it was happening, and that's why I think not just Claude, but it's happening across the board. You use so much. They say that's what you get for your dollar amount. Come back when your time frame, whether it's a day, whether it's a week, whether it's a month, renews. Then you get to use your allotment again, and that's what's happening. So you're going to get your allotment now.
You're going to get your allotment.
Yeah, and that was a very long way of saying you're going to get your allotment back. And so Claude's doing that, and they have their free version. They have their Go version, which is $8 a month, and that gives you just so much thinking and capabilities, and it gives you access to. There's different levels of Claude. So you have the Sonnet version, you have the Opus version, and they all have their strengths. I was starting to use Opus, but Opus is the one that's trying to be more efficient. So it's saving Claude money, but it's not necessarily doing the deep research I needed to. So I went back to the Sonnet 4.6.
As you're saying this, it just occurred to me, what if employees had different levels of AI based on what their task was within an organization? So the guy cutting grass, if he wanted to know how many lines he had to cut, had the low end, the $6 version. But somebody that had to figure out how to do the mower needed more. What if we didn't get rid of people, we just gave them different levels of AI? So your AI would be stepped up as your employee, as your status in a company goes up, and your need for more intelligence, more creativity,
and your intuitiveness. That's a chicken cock talk.
Intuition.
We're going to go with intuitivity.
Intuition.
Yeah, exactly. Is talking, and that was the other headline that I was leading into from what we talked about with the gentleman from Palantir. There was another CEO that came out this week and said there are two different people, and it was two different people than Palantir said. He said that you're either going to be the person that's going to be reluctant and say, no, I'm not taking AI, and you're going to be out of a job, or you're going to be the person that's going to be figuring out how to use AI tools to enhance their valuability. Because at the end of the day, it becomes, as an employee, am I more valuable to the company the way I know how to utilize the tools that are available to me versus the tools alone?
I think having been around in the business world for 45 years now, you're most valuable to use any tool at your disposal, whatever that tool might be. And
that's where the governance break in me comes in and says, listen, we got to be careful what we're pulling in, right? Mm-hmm. Because, we got the privacy concerns, we got the data concerns, we got the reliability, and we got the terms and conditions, and we also have probably the employee handbook that we're handed as we come into this job, and says, by the way, you can't use ChatGPT. You have to use the platform that we have the enterprise version of. And are you aware of that? Are we educating our employees out there? Are we educating, do we know what we're allowed to and not using? And that's what we call, when you're using the AI behind the scenes to help you enhance your job and the company doesn't know about it, we call it the shadow AI.
Let me ask you something. In 10 years, Brad, I know we were going to talk about the 6 different platforms.
We are. And it doesn't matter if it takes 10 episodes.
It might be 10 episodes.
It's going to be at least 6 episodes.
And it may take 10 cocks, but we're getting there.
And that's fine. Actually, this should be, maybe we should have one of our usually 5 segments should be this week's platform is,
let's do Claude.
Maybe that's a good way to go. But
I agree. I think we've spent most of our time on Claude today. So
so this week is Claude.
Let's just continue to talk about Claude for the rest of the day. But trust me, each platform has their own strengths and weaknesses, and I've tried to give some generalities as to each, how they're they have the free version, how they have the limitations, they have the usage now. That is common in all of them. And
let me ask you to put your 10-year glasses on.
Okay.
In 10 years?
10 years from now. You're looking into the future at this point. It's like looking into the looking glass.
It is. Let's look into your looking glass from 10 years from now. Are those 6 that we're going to talk about over tonight's session and the next couple of sessions, are they homogenous? Do they all look the same 10 years from now? No. Or are they? Do you find them going further in different directions? So there are 6 different directions. I can see a world where over the next 10 years they'll all become very similar. It's just who has better marketing. I don't know that to be true because I'm a neophyte in this whole world. But it just seems to me over time, that's with the bourbon, right? By the way, I'm going to preempt Brad here and say the bourbonometer is down.
The spirits are up.
And with that, we're going to go to the next segment. We'll see you in a few minutes. We'll be very
back. Let's take a quick break.
We'll take a quick break.
FYI, Palantir CEO is Alex Karp.
That's it.
I knew it had an odd name, but
when we come back, I will look up the other CEO that came out this week and said, you're either going to be with it or you're going to be out, So, I know everybody's like, I'm going to be the last. And I hate to say that, but you need you need to jump on board. You need to figure this out. It's not, you don't have to be the data scientist. You just have to figure out how to utilize these tools to the best of whatever you do.
And for some people, that might mean you don't use it at all. And
Possibly.
for some people, it might mean you get rid of everybody you employ, and there's a lot of in between.
There is. So when we come back, we'll keep talking. We've now narrowed this down to the 6 we're talking about to the 1.
Yeah,
Well, we talked about 2. I think we got 2 tonight. We covered
a
2.
little bit of.
No, I did broach into a little bit of ChatGPT and Copilot, but we will give them their due attention as well.
Let's get some more cock, boys.
Let's get some more cock at this break. We'll be back.
You guys are on your own. I'm out.
Mike, NIL is getting expensive. Schools need new revenue.
Yeah, but not another alumni fundraiser. I've got enough tote bags.
What if your ED meds saved you 10% and donated 10% to JMU?
Wait, what? How?
AlumniMeds.com. You get U.S. licensed healthcare, and the school gets a cut. Win, win, win.
Now that's a stat I can get behind. Go Dukes!
Already low prices, fast turnaround, totally discreet. Visit AlumniMeds.com and choose your alma mater to...
And we are back. It is the 5th segment.
The vaunted 5th segment.
5.
Number 5. The magical segment. It's the bourbon that's coming down the pipe that we were working on. And we were talking about Claude. And we were trying to talk about all 6, but there's not enough time. But we are going to share this information with you slowly over.
It's going to be a multi-part series.
Multimodal, like we were talking about, right?
That's
but
right.
we're gonna bring it to you in time because there are some tangents. We talk about all this different stuff, the weaknesses, right? And we talked about the weaknesses of something that everybody's looking for, and that is the imaging, the video. So we get off on a tangent on Sora, we get off on a tangent on Invideo. But Claude, one of their weaknesses is they do not do the videos. They do not do I asked to do screenshots. Just go to my website and take a screenshot. Can't do it. I think that's
it's that unable to do it. Like inept, I guess is the
well. I think
it can't do it.
I think there's probably capabilities. I think the fear is the copyright, right? So it's the law that comes back into it, right? So they think if you're going to go take a screenshot, am I again scraping information I'm not allowed to? And I was very cognizant about that when I was doing the Docket Daily setup because. Claude kept trying to push me, and well, you need to go look at this site or this site. And there were third-party sites. I'm like, no, I don't want to go and scrape their information. I want to go right to the source, and that is the government's information, the taxpayer information. The open source, the open AI. Now I sound like Elon, right? But we're
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Other than Elon doesn't enjoy a chicken cock on the 5th segment.
I'm thinking Elon doesn't drink.
No, he does smoke marijuana because we saw that on the Joe Rogan show. I mean, there was that famous meme,
That's true.
So we know that's
maybe we should start doing that.
Well,
this should be pot with Brad.
Yeah, right.
I'm out.
I'm just teasing.
I'm out.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
Perry's in, Louis out.
Just kidding.
Now, but let's finish up with Claude. Let's talk about
let's.
They have the free version, they have the $8 version, or they have the $20 version, which is the pro version. And I started with that, and that was very functional for the initial versions. But then you get how we talked about the governor. They either slow you down initially.
You mean Shapiro?
I'm talking about the governor, like your car.
Like a governor,
the governor where they're gonna slow you down. And they feel like you're coming on too strong. You can't dominate their GPU usage, so they're gonna slow you down. And then eventually, what they do is they say you're done. You've used your usage. So they have tiers, just like every other platform. If you want to get more, you have to pay more. But they are maxed out at $200 a month. And you can always, it's month by month. So if you use a month that's more, you can always back down to the $20, the free version, or the $100 version in between. And you can imagine all the different whether it's an older version of the latest versions that they come out with. And we were talking about off air. Their latest one is I think it was Opus. Am I saying it right?
How do you spell it?
That's Opus. OPUS.
Yeah, it was Opus. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Opus.
it's
Opus 4.7. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed with Opus 4.7 because I used it for maybe a day or two. And then when I read the headlines about Opus 4.7, it was Claude trying to save more money on the energy side. So they were trying to summarize things and not necessarily be very exacting. But that was their most, I hope they don't lose what they're best at, and that is their reasoning. And to be able to figure out the complex questions and be able to figure out the complex necessities of going out and finding the information. They're not taking the shortcuts.
Is it possible that just our banter back and forth here, I would assume that there's somebody at all these companies listening to what people are saying. And I think what you're saying is do what you're good at, be what you're good at.
Yeah, stick with that.
Stick with what you know and what got you here. And maybe you're not good at video and graphics and whatnot. Let somebody else do that. That doesn't mean you don't have a place in this world.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say.
That's life in general.
Know
right?
your
know your
core competency
and stay in your lane. Do what you do. And who did that for many years? Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
But yeah, I mean, stick with what you know and let the other stuff. So if Claude's core competency is coding and the other elements that you've discussed, stick with that.
Reasoning.
Reasoning. Let the rest of that go to the other players, and then. You know what else? If you're throwing those other players that bone, they're probably going to stick with what they're good at. Right. They're not going to bother with what you're good at.
Well, and at the end of the day,
and there's room in this space for everybody.
And I think with the Opus release, and I wasn't impressed by it because the big pitch was it's going to be more energy efficient. And again, I'm all about energy efficiency, but that means shortcuts. And when they did that, I then went back to choosing Sonnet 4.6 because I'm like, you know what, I'm sticking with this because this is really good.
That's still an Anthropic product, right?
It is. It's all under the Anthropic. I'm still talking about Claude,
So when you subscribe to that, you get access to all those?
You do. So you have like a little pull down menu. You can go down to all their previous versions.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
That's the way Adobe is.
Yeah.
Like I subscribe to Adobe. I have access to all of Adobe's products.
Right.
This is a question that I've not asked, and I have not heard it on any of the episodes I've been on. What is the total market? Like, give me a number. I mean, is this quadrillions, and I just kind of, but I can't even fathom how much money we're talking about changing hands in basically what is a monthly recurring revenue system, right? Is that what we're talking about here? MRR?
It is. And it's crazy, Lou, because, we were talking about 3 IPOs this next year that are on the cusp. And then when
$1 trillion plus.
Yeah, it's not billions. We're now talking the initial valuation of these companies going public for the very first time are all in the $1 trillion marks.
No, I haven't. It's easy for me to believe given the math.
And NVIDIA is now pushing $4 trillion. So when you put all that into perspective of where we were and where we're going, it's the most craziest. We talk about the tech boom. When we were living through the tech boom of the late '90s, early 2000s, and that was a crazy ladder that we climbed. This is different. This is different.
Well, everything is hockey sticked in the last 10 years. I mean, and it's just, it goes like this and then it goes like this. It's just
and
the
AI,
way life is, right?
And like I wrote in my book, my AI has been around, the very first AI started in 1950. But each progression failed because the infrastructure wasn't able to keep up with where it was going. Mm-hmm. So it went into all these winners. So then we actually are the third segment of AI that's taking off. And it's crazy where it's going to take us now because, assuming the infrastructure is not getting shut down by all the communities, and there's a 50% pause out there right now. But the latest Anthropic SpaceX deal,
that's huge.
That's got to send question marks up there because those are two crisscrosses, you know?
Hey, some community's going to take it. Okay. It's just the way it is. It's going to happen.
There's no
so
doubt.
you can move it from here to there to there. It's going to settle somewhere and it's going to happen, right?
Well, whether it's here on anywhere on this earth, we're talking about the Australian, deal that they were cutting, whether it's
they're talking about putting some of the processing in outer space. To take advantage of the cold air. You don't have to pay a penny to cool it, right?
That makes sense.
Right.
Right.
And not only would you have 24/7 natural cooling, but you would also have 24/7 light. And unfiltered access to the solar rays. So that makes sense, but where people don't understand that the bad part is all the meteorites and the debris and the clutter that's now.
I can show you pictures of the stuff that's up there. It's unbelievable.
Perry, you should. And next time we come on,
I will. I'll bring
share that because Perry is a.
Can I tell you? Most of your listeners probably don't know that this guy.
No.
He's what would you call you? You're not an astronomer. You're a astrophotographer.
And we're not talking
This
about
guy-
that ass.
No, we are not. We are definitely not.
Now you can tell we're in the fifth segment, right? But
Segment 5, all bets are off.
this guy takes some pictures of stuff that is a
his-
bajillion light years away.
Perry, please
And
give
I'm gonna tell you,
give the 2-minute segment of your 3 telescopes.
So, one day, I don't know, I was on the internet looking at pictures. Shocker. Instagram.
Yeah, what were those pictures of?
Yeah,
Well, it
next
was
step is prison after that.
Size 13 stilettos? Louis Vuitton?
Yeah. No, that came later. Now, I was looking at a picture. It was on a NASA site, I guess, and it was a picture of the pillars of creation that they took with the Hubble telescope. And I was like, that is such a cool picture. And the pillars of creation, without getting in too nerdy, is in M16. It's the Eagle Nebula. It's a gas formation. It's a formation of gas clouds that where a lot of stars are created. Blah blah blah. So they call it the pillars of creation. But it looks like they also call it the hand of God because it looks like a hand.
Yeah.
It looks like these fingers.
It has that pillar effect, yeah.
So I thought to myself, boy, that's a cool picture. I'd like to take a picture like that. And I've always been into photography. So I bought it.
Mostly boys lacrosse.
Yeah, but I graduated from that. So you always got to bring that back, don't you? So I bought this old tracking mount. Anyway, long story short, the problem is Earth rotates, and if you try to take a still photo of the stars, they seem to move because it's not them moving, it's the Earth moving. Right?
So if you have no technology, and I learned this from you when I came down to your backyard and you showed me this, getting your very cool setup, your rollout, and this is all computerized now.
It's totally computerized. And once you get it polar aligned, I can, on an app on my phone, I can pick any spot in the sky and say, I want to look at, the Dumbbell Nebula. And it'll move my scope right to that spot in the sky. It'll take a photo. It'll what's called plate solving. It'll upload it to a computer somewhere. I don't know where. Analyze the star patterns, and then it can tell if it's perfectly centered on that spot. And if it isn't, it'll make an adjustment. It'll take another photo, and boom, it's dead center in the middle of the frame.
And it's perfect.
It's amazing,
photos, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Perry, so the picture of what you just took, how far away is the object of your picture?
Well, it depends. So some of these things are in our galaxy. Most of the nebula that I take photos of are in the Milky Way, which is our local neighborhood in the universe. Sure. The Milky Way is 180 million light years across, 180,000 light years across. So it's huge. I mean, you can't even. It's an immeasurable distance. And
you need
just
Spaceballs ship to get across this.
You do. You do. Yeah, you do. It's just our galaxy. The distances are amazing. So, for example, I've taken photos of galaxies that are 50 million light years away. So the light that I captured when I took that picture is looking back in time 50 million years, because that galaxy might not even be there anymore.
Yeah.
So when they can measure the distances, and it's very humbling when you look up, because it's like that thing, whatever it may be, is 1,000 light years away from us. So 1,000 years ago, the light that I captured left that.
So what
that
you're taking
thing.
a picture of was 1,000 years ago.
You're looking back in time, yeah.
So Perry, a light year is
so what
the
we're not
distance-
looking at is
the distance that a light year is the distance that light travels in the course of a year at its normal speed.
So light travels at 187,000 miles per second.
Right.
I know you know
So
that.
do the math.
I know you know that in the fifth segment.
I was going to put him out
even
there
after
on the fifth segment.
even
but
after getting pounded with chicken cock all night.
just for a lot of our listeners and viewers that don't know because a lot of people say it's a light year away. And everybody's like, what the hell's a light year?
Yeah.
And how far is
So that's the distance. So the sun is, I want to say 10 light seconds away from the earth. So if something happens on the sun, it takes 10 seconds for that light to reach earth. So the distances are almost unfathomable.
Yeah,
I mean,
when you get
well, they are. They're not infinite, but
Yeah.
they are unfathomable to the human brain.
they just
here's where
defy
my-
mathematics.
Here's where it gets really weird in the whole fifth segment, right? That's where the mysteriousness comes in.
Because we're talking about astrophotography instead of
not chicken.
AI.
Perry, you should be. We got to get rid of this and put some of your.
No, we do.
your
I
pictures up
think
here.
no. I told him to come on a segment. Some of his pictures. They are the most
photography
amazing.
is off the chart.
They should be in the galleries. They are that.
There's a lot of beauty in space.
So much.
Some of the pictures
And the way you capture it
are
the way-
beautiful.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's a screensaver for everybody. But what I'll say is this: what you're capturing is possibly 1,000 years ago.
Oh, that's young.
No, I
Compared
would
to some
think.
of it.
I think we're talking about maybe tenfold of that.
So
At least.
what's scary is what is out there in the present that we haven't captured that
We don't know.
may be just lurking around the corner.
We don't know.
It's the fifth segment.
The closest star.
It's the chicken cock getting into me right now and making me want to say
the closest star.
I have no response to this, folks. I am.
So here's a.
I don't know what to say. Right.
To keep it in
But
perspective.
don't you wonder? Perry's taking pictures from 1,000 years ago. So, what is right there, right now that maybe NASA knows? Maybe they do. Maybe they don't.
I think I dated one of those women in this picture.
So to keep it in perspective, the closest star to our solar system is Alpha Centauri. It's 4 light years away. So for all we know, that star blew up 4 years ago, and we don't know it yet because it takes that long for that light to travel that distance.
What a delay!
It's unbelievable.
It's kind of like you remember the internet when you first got on the internet and you got on. It was doing this, like this infinite circle of
the
doom.
circle of death.
The circle of death. That's what they used to call it, right? That's what I feel like. It's the same thing when you're taking these pictures away. You're capturing a moment that's no longer there, but it's cool to see, right? It's kind of like an archaeologist in space.
That's a good way of putting it.
Right?
It's a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
But what is right around the corner?
We don't know.
And why
because you can't see it.
And let me ponder this, Perry, because I know you're probably following this headline closely. We're talking about the AI headlines, but how about the UFO headlines?
So here's my theory.
How many great scientists? And we're talking one of my favorite shows back in the day was the Ancient Aliens,
Here's my theory on that. So I can point one of my telescopes at any random spot in the sky, and some are less powerful than others. Take the least powerful one, and I can point it at a section of the sky, and I can take 2 hours worth of imaging, and I can process it. You'll see dozens of galaxies, tiny little blurry spots that are hundreds of millions of light years away from us.
Wow.
And I can't even look anywhere near as far into that past as the Hubble or the James Webb Space Telescope can look, okay?
So there is no...
every one of those galaxies, and there are millions of galaxies in the universe, every one has millions to billions to trillions of stars, any one of which can be a sun like we have.
Of course.
So I refuse to accept the fact that there's no other life out there.
Well,
but I do accept the fact that we'll probably never meet them because the distances are so great. How are they ever going to get here?
Well, but
not on Spirit Airlines.
No.
Yeah.
No, not right now, right? I mean, that I heard one of their planes was getting turned into a Dollar General, but it was
the Amish did it.
It was a perfect segue, right? But
hey, can I say something about the fifth segment? Normally, we have a little bit left in our bottle, which is always called Tanya's Taste.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well,
what happened to
Tanya tasted it.
We didn't want her to finish off the chicken cock.
Uh-oh.
That's where we drew the line.
She got a taste. I'm curious what she thinks.
Finish off the chicken cock.
In our studio audience, we have Tanya.
Yeah, we do have
who
Tanya.
had her taste, Tanya's taste tonight. So
smooth those.
I am so lucky to have Tanya in my life. She's my beautiful bride of 28.
28 years.
28 and 2 months.
What are you talking about?
Is my math off?
I'm sensing your math is just
Claude.
based on that.
I need Claude.
I need Claude.
97? Yeah.
Come on, dude. You're the smartest guy I know. You just messed up. 26 minus 97.
Yeah, I probably messed that up.
That's 19.
Listen, that's why when
that's 29. 29.
Am I in 29 now, Tonya? I lost a whole freaking 4 months in Claude.
You're spending too much time coding.
No doubt. Holy shit.
That's why Claude
Well,
shut
first
you
of all,
down.
I knew Tawny was my bride after 2 dates. Not the first date. That first date was.
But it sounds like the second date was very. Very
once
telling.
we, it was you talk about the stars aligning, right, in your telescope, and the weirdest thing is when Perry brings his telescope on the lacrosse field, and everybody's like, "What are you looking at, Mitch?"
I'm looking at the boys' locker room.
Hey, Brad, let me ask you something, Brad. I don't know if any of the viewers have actually seen Perry. They've heard him, obviously.
Oh, they've seen him.
Oh, they have?
I mean,
they've
I flash every part of Perry up on the screen.
Yeah,
Oh, you
a
have?
little too much of Perry.
I'd be willing to bet you that not one of them thought that the dude in stilettos and fishnets looking for OnlyFans men would be would have that deep a knowledge of space. And
he is an astro. What's the official term? Is an ass.
I know. The ass. The emphasis is on the
you gotta be
ass.
very careful here because there is a pharmaceutical product called Astroglide.
No, it's not that. Astrophotography.
Okay. All right.
No.
So it's space photography.
No, I jest Perry, but I'm going to tell you, folks, this guy has some phenomenal pictures. That if you have,
in fact, Lou, I've been begging him for years to put his photos, his images. They're so perfect.
They are.
You've had them. I said put them in the art galleries. They put them online.
They are worthy.
Yeah. You.
Well, I appreciate you guys saying that.
That's why I have.
I'm my own worst critic.
Nope, and that's what I love about you because your OCD. We talk about that nonlinear stuff, right?
Nothing's ever good enough.
No,
for me.
And that was me.
I rearranged the lights tonight.
I know you did again. That's okay. I love it every time you do it.
I think it looks pretty good, actually.
I would like to point out that one got in the way of me getting to the ice for my bourbon.
Yeah.
Well, that was Oh, I didn't change that one. I moved these two. But I appreciate you guys saying that. And
no, you're the best.
It's legit.
And by the way, you are the best. You're the best when you're in stilettos. You're the best when you're behind a big telescope. You are the best when you're drinking chicken cock. Okay, and
I do like that. I'm not going to say that I like that. The chicken cock of bourbon is really good. I'm not going to say it.
I think we're about to cash out here for the evening, but I'd like to show you all this new glass I got. Like, you know how everybody, when they kind of swirl their glass, check out my new swirl glass. You put the ball in. You just let the bourbon just smooth over.
I do like
it
those.
Just spins.
No, it is very smooth.
No.
So when you get the other 16 of those that you ordered,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to trying one.
I got one for all of us, and I got a
Yes.
couple to share. And
That slow boat from China is coming across.
It is. It's slow. It's a dinghy. It's not a big boat.
It's funny though, because I will sit and I'm always fidgeting with something, but and I'll sit here and I'll spin my glass.
Yeah.
Like that.
Might
like
be that
this.
one chair you and Johnny Krebs share in the.
That could that could be it. I'm not sure.
Are we spinning on that chair, or are we just spinning on?
So who's our LLM?
I just made Barry
Oh my God.
for the very first time silent
I can't
on
even
my
talk.
talk about his.
I can't.
They're
I can't
environmentally
even.
friendly over there. I got to tell you.
I'm trying to be professional and say, who is our LLM of next week?
So we're gonna move on.
So do you think?
We are moving on from Claude, and Claude is very good, but it does have its weaknesses. It, again, imaging, video, limitations on, and again, they all have this.
Yeah. So there are some platforms that are better than others.
They are.
at certain things.
And
right?
Claude is great at reasoning. It's great, and that's why I picked it to be my backbone of the legal.
So if you say it falls short on image editing, things like that,
Image editing it.
what do
editing-
you feel of those other 5 picks up the slack in that regard?
Well, there's a few of them out there. Like I said, as I mentioned, a crossover with Gemini. And well, I've been using Gemini a little bit for imaging, but then for the this segment, I pulled it out of ChatGPT.
That's where you made that image.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
And that's ChatGPT 2.0.
They're new. Yeah, the newest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it
Well,
was
then maybe
very-
that's the one we should start with next week.
Well, it's the very first prompt, and of course we will, because it's the
it's one of the big ones.
You know, if you they did this, you probably haven't seen this picture, but there was at this summit, all the major people, and there was Dario next to Sam Altman, and they were all supposed to interconnect arms, and they just put their arms up next to each other because they were that petty that they just couldn't interconnect arms for the picture.
There's some egos there.
Well, and that is the ego that's playing through, and that's probably the headline that allowed Elon
To work this deal. Yeah.
I don't think it's just that though. I think he's 5 chess moves ahead of us.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
So you have to see some synergies coming down between Elon and Anthropic, because Anthropic is way out ahead. And Elon was, mind you, and I'll leave our listeners on this. Elon was in Doge. He was the one kicking out all the riffraff, right?
That's right. Yeah. This goes part and parcel with an old friend of ours, whose name I won't mention, but on this argument between Dario and Sam Altman, and Dario's winning.
Yeah.
He's winning. It's going to be interesting to see. By the time we shoot another episode next week,
It's going to be crazy, right?
This full episode that we shoot once per week,
Right.
it's amazing. It's going to be amazing to see what's changed, because
it's almost like
every
your
day
telescope. It's looking back in time,
yeah, for real.
right?
Good analogy.
Cheers, Mitches.
Cheers, Mitches.
That was a lot of fun. A
Fifth
lot of fun.
segment.
Enjoyed the cock.
Yep. The chicken cock is
Thanks,
empty.
Lou. Thanks, Lou, for bringing
We
the
won't
cock.
say who finished it off.
We won't say that. That's probably a good thing.
No, but the bourbon tonight was sponsored by myedmeds.com.
Where together
We
rise.
Yeah.
The views and opinions shared on the Bourbon with Brad podcast are our own and those of our guests. Nothing we discuss should be taken as financial, legal, business, or gambling advice. Don't make investment, business, or betting decisions based on our conversations, as you should always talk to a qualified professional. Always drink responsibly, never drink and drive, and only consume alcohol if you are of legal drinking age.